Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lanterns Legends of Runeterra tournament. This is weekly number 3, and we are excited to let you know that aggro seems to be dead. In our lineups today, we have nothing but control. So maybe aggro just needs a little bit of time to kind of get itself together, given that the Samira Fizz combo list kind of shifted out due to a little bit of touching up in the patch notes. Kai, talk to me. What are your thoughts on these recent patch notes and what the tournament deck lineups are looking like today?
Well, fun fact, I haven't left the voice chat in a week. I've just been here meditating, and in my visions, I saw something glorious. Leona was nerfed up to now have 5 daybreak effects in order for her to activate, as well as Ashe getting that buff that she had previously nerfed up to 5 procs as well. So no longer really quite as much of a threat, I suppose, for those late game finisher champions in those specific strategies that they fit into really well. But on top of that, we also had a lot of nerfs that kind of danced around a lot of Samira and Varus's packages, but I don't think really impacted them all that much. So initially, I was thinking, okay, well, Samira Varus has a 58% win rate right now with a 7% play rate. It is the most played unequivocally across the board right now on the Runeterra AR stat site and across the Runeterra ladder. And so I was fully expecting people to be like, yeah, this is the strong deck that we have on ladder. Why not bring it into this tournament? And it turns out that my prediction, and I say we because I told Elite about this earlier, but my prediction on this deck being brought frequently into this tournament was totally wrong. And my guess is that because we've seen so much Samira Varus over the last week or two now, that people are just so tired of it that everyone arrived at this tournament saying, I am going to beat Samira, and there's nothing she can do about it. And that's the reason why we're seeing the list that we are today.
Come here. We have a guest that would like to.
We have a guest. Oh, the third caster. She returns.
The third caster. She returns. Say hello, Bella.
Excellent. Excellent news.
Unfortunately for Bella, we do not have any catastrophe decks, to my knowledge. But wow. I think it's also interesting because, like, even though Karma's set, right, did get a nerf in terms of Karma's HP, right, going down per 1 for each level, we're still seeing a lot of control lineups. And to my knowledge, Karma set tends to kind of beat those out. But if we're looking at the very, the tippy top of the list, aside from Heimer Jace, what is the next one followed right after for the Shadow Isles kind of control list? Is Deep, which is sometimes noted as kind of not a hard kind of maybe like a good 50-50 into Karma set, given, hey, if you're able to get deep fast enough, these really big sea monsters are big. What are they going to do? Recall it? Stun it for maybe a turn? Like, you have so much power in these units. And I mean, we talked about it last tournament. We're seeing Deep in basically every single tournament, going all the way back to the Mystic Shot tournaments, right? It's a reliable deck. It does what it needs to do. Sure, it may brick here and there, but it's always made it to the very end. And now we're actually seeing it being one of the top decks on ladder right now. When was the last time we saw that for Deep? I literally have no idea.
I want to say the last time that we really saw Deep present in the meta was during the time where FTR was a big thing. This was like a year and a couple months ago during the rise of Ziggs to Leah and Jace Lux, and a lot of people were really liking to play FTR, and so the counters to the deck at the time were Ziggs to Leah, because landmark burn decks are very tough for them to interact with, on top of Deep, because what Deep likes to do is it likes to punish those really greedy control decks by, for one, like you mentioned, having all of these really big sea monsters that get discounted by playing Nautilus, but for two, making it so that they don't have options. That is one of the things that I think that really goes overlooked in terms of Deep, is the Maokai aspect of it. You obliterate your opponent's deck down to 4 non-champions. So now when you're playing against this Karma set strategy that likes to draw into coins, that likes to have a lot of stuns and recalls and options available in a healthy deck size, suddenly when you eliminate that possibility, when you eliminate their chance of finding another karma or finding any myriad of answers to this wide board that they have, Deep ends up closing out these matches so reliably up against the deck, and hence the reason why it is considered to be a generally favorable matchup. But it also has so much healing, control, and everything else on top of it to make it a valid control strategy on top of everything else that the deck already does really well. So yeah, it's just solid all around.
It is. I mean, it is. Like, you have to plan around the Maokai strategy. And, like, the thing is with the Karma set that it kind of, like, has the win condition, so to speak. And, like, the win condition is the set Karma, right? You need to get that combo off. But if you don't draw into your champions, then against Deep, you end up becoming, you know, obliterated. At that point, what do? You're kind of just, I guess I'm dead. And our first game for today is going to be Croc AI versus ToF Trust. Those of you who joined us last week, these two were first place and the second place winners. So luckily we get to see their little rematch going into the rest of the tournament. And we see that Trust is playing Deep and Croc AI is on just that, Karma set. But it's the Targonian version rather than the Piltovian version. Now, Kai, what do you think about the differences? I kind of like the Targon version in the sense that you have access to some of the Targonian removal tools, like Sunburst, right? It can silence a unit, which is going to get rid of any stats it may have, and then kill it. And it's a whole 6 damage ping.
I think beyond just having the access to Sunburst in Targon, which has been effectively a very powerful spell, I remember playing Seraphine Jack a little while ago into some Targon list, and I didn't expect them to be running Sunburst. I think it was a Leona list, funny enough, and they hit me with the Sunburst. I was totally not expecting it, but it just proves its efficacy. And here we are seeing it taken out once again. Trustiano definitely not expecting there to be this kind of response. You look at set Karma, you think there's a lot of recalls and stuff, but to get back to your original question about the difference in the flavors, Piltover and Zon versus Targon, I also like Targon a little bit better, but for the additional effect of being able to have invoke win conditions. So
yes,
if you don't have set on board, if Karma is not cutting it for you, you have the opportunity of finding an invoke to get your late game win conditions out. You can find a Great Beyond, you can find a Scourge even possibly, which can actually go pretty hard with the set overall and push for that late game
most definitely.
Well. So it gives you extra options aside from annoying your opponent to death. And that sounds wrong.
I mean, it does sound wrong, but like it's kind of how it is. Like with the Piltover version, they're just stalling and stalling and stalling and stalling, and you know, maybe shooting something here, shooting something there, but ultimately it lacks that really that nice uppercut punch at the very end. Now, mind you, it's still annoying, you know, to deal with in the sense, right? Because if they're able to get placer bets and they're able to get the coin combo off for Karma, and if they are able to like continuously draw into that specific spell, they can continuously, you know, get a free turn, maybe two or three times if they, you know, are getting the right draws. And that in itself is like you're just sitting there waiting, you know, to not even die, because maybe that's when you're not even dying, you're just obliterating your board and just like, okay, well, you know what, I guess that's kind of that of it. Like here, you know, in this game, we already see Maokai number 2 has come down. Now, I've always felt weird when I played Deep playing Maokai out. I guess maybe earlier when Maokai was a 2-3 instead, because I felt like there was way too many things that could deal with him. But I do like the fact that now you're seeing players go ahead and like play it on curve or play it after, just so that you can get those extra tosses in. Because believe it or not, like to turbo out Maokai, especially when Maokai's on the field, it's pretty easy, right? Especially if you're able to get the Sea Scarabs out. Oh my gosh, you're just tossing so many cards.
Trustiano had 2 Sea Scarabs and a Maokai on board. Tossed so much from that Sunburst, tossed a ton from the second one going down. And I think that Trustiano understands that getting deep and getting these toss effects, even at the cost of your champion, is still really a viable strategy, because eventually you'll still be shuffling Nautiluses back into your deck. Eventually you'll find that one copy of Maokai once you toss far enough, and you'll still be able to go for that same win condition all the same. So even though we did lose 2 copies of Maokai, we're still swinging for a ton of damage. We're swinging for 6 on an elusive with a draw. The 5/6 in the form of that Sea Scarab is also going to be connecting the face, though Croc AI does have options available. And another thing that I'm really fascinated by in Croc's hand was hitting that Fallen Comet off of the Solari Priestess. So now we have the capability of obliterating a unit, outright removing Nautilus from the game. Which, fun fact for those of you who probably don't think about stats all that much, like the Nautilus is actually the champion that gets the largest number of stats on level up in the game.
Followed by ASO, right? I want to say
followed
a second, or is it Aatrox? No, I think level up. I think it's ASO because the ASO goes to 11-11, but Aatrox is at 10-10 on level up. I want to say.
Yeah, ASO. No, Tryndamere. No, Tryndamere.
Oh wait, no, Tryndamere. Yes,
yep.
That's a whole 13-13. No.
I think he's an 11-11 with Overwhelm, but he starts as an 8-4.
Yeah,
or
true,
something along those lines.
Okay.
So he gets big. He gets double digits in both compartments. So I just can't remember 10-10 or 11-11 because you haven't seen Tryndamere all that much lately. Feel the Rush just isn't quite where it used to be. Nautilus level up as well is
look at this.
Really quite threatening.
This is scary. I'm not sure how Croc AI kind of escapes this. I mean, we're looking at their hand. They have Obliterate. There we go. So at least that's ripping. You know, one comet going, there goes Nautilus. We still have second one in hand.
I just heard like Velcro. You know, Croc AI had the Skechers on, had to pull the Velcro off and pull the Fallen Comet out of the back of the heel, like he was hiding a Pokemon card back there, and just throw it at that Nautilus. It's off the board now. One of the
we're looking
great options.
But like after that, you don't really have many options unless you go into some more invokes, right? Because sure, we have the Comet, but that's only dealing 4, and all of these units are above 4, well above 4. We have a 6 and 7 HP units, only 2 blockers, mind you. We have a slow stun. There's Notify. Not really sure we're going to use it against, like, aside from the Quietus. But even then, it's looking a little bit grim. Hopefully, maybe we can get something. I mean, we gotta recall that block there.
I don't think this recall's correct. Oh no, they want to get the level up off.
Okay.
That makes sense. I was thinking that next turn, if you don't want to die and stay on 4 HP, and heck, maybe Croc AI sees something that I don't, but you would have kept that tag out to use the 5-mana version to recall one of the monsters off the back, and then have all the blockers available. Instead, we decided to go for the level up on set and keep the Cosmic Youngling. Place Your Bets is a great
okay.
By the way.
That definitely is.
Give us a great look at things now.
We need our stuns. That's all we need. Maybe a stun or a recall. We can live another turn. There we go. Ripping to Place Your Bets. Sunburst. Pit Professional. Not what we're looking for right now. There we go. Game 1. Wow. That's deep for you.
That is deep.
That is like, the exact thing we were talking about. How if Deep manages to get deep and get these sea monsters on the board with all their stats, a Karma set deck just simply doesn't have the kind of answers to deal with it. Because we saw in that hand they had the I keep wanting to call it the Zoe spell. What's the comet? It's Falling Comet, right?
Falling. Oh no! Don't. Oh no! Don't question my Jeopardy knowledge like this.
About
the 4 mana, the 2. No. Oh god, I don't even know what mana spell it is. I don't play Targon spells at all.
Falling Star. Okay, yeah, it's called Falling Star. 2 mana deal 4 for you did. If it's stunned or if it's attacked, those are the only way to be able to use that spell. But we saw like in hand we had removal, but the units are just simply too big. And now in this game we get to see the run back with Deep into Darkness. I feel like it's
Croc AI on Deep. Both of the players brought it.
Interesting.
Which means that Aatrox Vein was banned from Croc.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I can see the Aatrox Vein being banned, especially given that it just has the ability to keep going, like just keep attacking, something like they can't handle the pressure. I think it's probably a really good deck into a lot of these control matchups that we're seeing, especially if you're able to get the tough unit down. you get Ranger Knight with ToF and have some combat spell backup to buff it up, what you gonna do? How do you kill it?
You really don't. And we have talked about in the past about the efficiency of equipment against these control decks too. Sure, you remove the unit, but then if they have another unit, which they usually do, and then they have the equipment keeps those stats. Those stats are something you still have to respond to. This was a, I don't remember the exact match, but it was a Mystic Shot match that we were watching of Orange X against, I feel like it was some...
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yes, and yo, what was it? It was the Bone Club. That thing was huge.
Right, yeah.
Ridiculous. It had put like 7 to power on something. I was just like, hey, yo, who's forging this?
It was like, it was a Ruthless Raider that, you know, 3-1 tough overwhelm. You're like, yeah, okay, that's cute. Then you throw Bone Club on that. It becomes, without any stat buffs, a 7/6 with overwhelm and tough. Granted, that is 7 mana that you spent, but those stats, that 7/6, that extra 5/5 of stats, is something you can't really effectively remove. So that's the reason why that matchup goes in Aatrox's Veins' favor a little bit more against control lists, because you're never really fully removing the stats itself.
Totally.
Now, this is the this is the elementary school argument matchup, I think, where it's just a matter of the better player is the one who can count faster.
I mean, we're already at 4 Darkness now.
Yeah, we're at 4 Darkness.
We're
also going deep with Maokai.
Oh man.
Look, and we're already deep. It doesn't matter that you have 4 Darkness. Abyssal Eye is a 6/6.
And we just simply don't have the time to wait for that darkness to go up even further. And mind you, like if we're looking at our hand, we're working about with 2 hate spikes, which requires us to sacrifice a unit just to kill something. At this rate, what, we're gonna double hate spike the 6s? But definitely not worth it. And we do have second Vigars, and we don't necessarily are worried about losing Vigars. Technically 2, if we're thinking about the Rekindler, you know, being an option. I do like the mini morph. This deck is currently running mini morph at 2. Are we running?
And 2 Soul Harvest. That's an interesting.
Yeah, 2 Harvest, 2 mini morph. Checking this out though. No Vengeance.
That?
At all. That's interesting take. Only mini morph and Soul Harvest as you know, I guess removal cards, so to speak. Even though mini morph only makes it 3/3, but it silences, and that's pretty good for decks that, you know, have like an elusive unit like this, or, you know, not less coming down. But
Even
we're definitely reliant on the darkness.
Even more intriguing to me is their spread of units. Every single unit in this deck, aside from the Rekindler, is a 3 of, and the Rekindler is a 2 of. This is a very, very unit-heavy version of Darkness that I'm assuming is probably including things like Acolyte, Contrologist, and Season Sentry to give you all of those, that extra value, to give you that board width that you need against what we would suppose to see in terms of, again, I hate to bring up the S word, but Samira. And with Samira lists, you think of Samira Leona, Samira Varus. These are decks that like to have a lot of units. And so if you have units that consistently give darkness value, and you have a lot of them, like you're running 12 2-drops in this deck, you're more effective at keeping your Nexus health high. But against Deep right now, you're at 6 HP. There's a
Like,
Vengeance in Croc AI's hand.
So close to dying. Like, we just need one more elusive to come down. Now, mind you, we do have the answer for it, but then at that rate, we need to make sure that we're maintaining units to deal with, you know, the rest of the board, especially if Nautilus comes down. Because if we don't have a fearsome blocker by the time Nautilus comes down, we're in big trouble.
That we are. Funny enough, Darkwold Acolyte can fill in that spot for a fearsome blocker, because it creates the darkness, and then if you use the darkness, it becomes a 3/2.
We're 2 darkness away from leveling Veigar. I wonder if we're gonna go for it this turn.
I think we're no. This darkness levels Veigar right now.
Now you saw that with Croc AI. Croc AI grabbed the heavy metal to kill their own unit. They were thinking about it, saying, okay, you know what, I don't want Veigar to necessarily level right now. I could kill this, and they opted out of it. instead of deciding to go ahead and play some units.
Strange that they use. Well, you know what? I think using Undergrowth here might be a bit of a throw for Croc AI because they don't want to toss more units and they want to use it more defensively on a unit that would otherwise block. Like trying to deny a darkness there specifically only really delays the inevitable because of how long Vhagar's been able to stay on board. First one was removed because of a sapling and a heavy metal. Second one was removed with a vengeance. Third one comes back with a rekindler, of which we have another rekindler, which we just top decked in hand. Like this Vhagar,
man,
we already know is going to be sticking on board just because of how consistently he's been able to so far, and there's just no exceptions now. Sea Scarab as well, not tossing anything. There are only champions left in this deck, and it is now a war of attrition.
It was the vengeance.
Vengeance is committed.
And as you just mentioned, we're about to see the second rekindler come right on down. Ooh, going for the hate spike. Okay, I like it. You know your unit's gonna die. Go ahead and get rid of a unit. Now you get a husk. Which husk is it? Tough? Okay.
Oh my stars. Yeah, it is tough.
Mind you, it's this elusive.
Oh right, but Rekindler gets it. Never mind.
Wait. Oh no, but mini morph. Oh my gosh, if it wasn't for mini morph, this would have been Gabe. Because it would have been an open swing, but this is gonna be a burst silence.
Croc AI's player from the AM shard, because if they have it, they have it, and they do indeed. Going to be risking taking 3 damage either. Draws a card with the Cecil Century, which is really good before Maokai comes out again to obliterate the rest of your deck, so you don't draw yourself out here.
Ooh, 8 damage.
8
Look at that.
damage to face.
Darkness is hurting.
And we might even have. No, we don't.
I don't.
I was thinking. It's close.
It is.
It's very close.
Because we have a stun, we have a drain, so we can kill 1 unit, put 1 unit back. Yep, going for the heavy metal. Make sure that we're not swinging wider. As long as we're not taking, we basically can't take any damage next round. Actually, we could, what is this called? The pie toss? Yeah, we pie toss right now. Because that next turn, the darkness is going to be at 9. And it's a wrap.
Not yet. I mean, Undergrowth keeps us at 2 HP for Croc AI.
Another elusive!
Oh.
Wait, this is so close! This is so close.
But the EIGHTestagiario Sentinel's found.
No!
So it doesn't make a difference. What has to happen is the Undergrowth into the immediate Riptide. You cannot give your opponent any time to play the EIGHTestagiario Sentinel this turn, even though you don't know that they have it. But you can't let Vhagar stay on board right now. If Croc AI plays the Abyssal Eye before he plays the Riptide, this happens.
No, I think isn't it just immediate victor? Even when you take out Vhagar, it automatically hits.
Yeah.
That's EIGHTestagiario. EIGHTestagiario is the game ender for darkness because it's the only unit that comes with the darkness package that is able to target the Nexus without Vhagar.
I totally forgot that. I thought it was the effective Destinata. I got those 2 units.
Oh, the Destinata one, yes. The Destinata goes for everything. And there we go. Trust goes ahead and takes on the second game. Is going to be moving on. Wow.
Castellano bringing a really interesting mix of darkness there to win the game. And it worked out perfectly. I think that there was also a couple of really good top decks that they had there.
Yeah,
because we saw 3 Vhagars get removed. There was like a lot of removal that had to be committed on the side of Croc AI, but then they top decked the second Rekindler. There are only 2 in this deck, and they top decked it. Then they brought the EIGHTestagiario Sentinel to guarantee the lethal, even if Riptide was used on Vhagar to send him back into the deck, to then give Trustiano the win. Even though Deep was able to do its Deep thing as well, never found another copy of Maokai in those last few cards in the deck. So
yeah, I needed that.
What do you do from there? You just kind of roll over and lose. You can't. Sometimes...
The thing is, though, even with that, Croc was just right there. So flipping close, right? We went for that open swing. We got many more. If we had the second elusive, though, right? We just needed 1 more swing. That's it. If it was any other unit that Trust had gotten, I think that actually would have been GG on Croc's side, we would have went on to a game 3 because
Yeah.
EIGHTestagiario like is only EIGHTestagiario only a 3 of in a 40 card deck. That's the 3's EIGHTestagiario, right? There's a chance, but like you said, Trust really got the top decks, managed to pull out the victory there. Darkness was ramping. We had a 9 mana Darkness. I think what's the highest Darkness we've seen in tournament? I want to say what was that it? Was it 9?
9 might be it. I feel like there was a 10 or a 12
Possibly
somewhere, but maybe I'm misremembering. I don't think. Yeah, I think 9 is probably the highest that I can reliably remember, and that's pretty darn high.
That
even
is
for a deck that has interaction. If we look at the list that Croc AI was running for Deep as well, I believe that we had Abyssal Eye in this list. Or no, sorry, Devour. I mean, of course we had Abyssal Eye. We drew him a couple times, but we had Devourer of the Depths. There could have been a point, any point in the game, where if we found Devourer of the Depths and removed that Vagar on, say, turn 6 exactly, that Vagar wouldn't have come back from the Rekindler either.
Yeah, Rekindler's a dead card at that point.
It is. And I think that really just goes to show how close Croc AI was. And that matchup ultimately came down to Trustiano playing a lot more patiently, playing their advantages where they could, and then also getting some really good top decks to supplement their win con there.
Now I'm wondering, obviously hindsight is 2020. I'm wondering if Croc did decide to heavy metal the 1-drop, if that would have changed the course, if that would have, if by delaying the level up even by 1 turn, if that would have just saved us a little bit more HP. I want to say probably not, only because Vagar is continuously ramping, and even almost, I think the first Darkness to hit was at 8. So it's like maybe not. I would say most likely not, given that Darkness was just getting so high, and you did end up drawing into EIGHTestagiario. But I thought it was really interesting to see, like, you saw that thought cross Croc's mind, like, okay, I see that they have Darkness, I see they can level up right now because I have this unit. Do I just stop it now? Do I just let it rock? Opted to let it rock, and even so, kind of playing on the back foot against Darkness, still managed to really calculate, okay, where are my avenues, what can I do? It's not looking the best, but like I do believe there's still a way out possibly. And we saw how they were kind of playing around the Abyssal Eye win con at that point, and I think they played it exceptionally well against in that specific match, as best as you could against a very strong control deck like Darkness.
The 2 copies of Minimorph are really interesting to me because back in the day when Minimorph was, I guess, at its peak, one of the decks that we saw it countering the most was Lee Sin, and we saw it countering out Viego. We had a lot of these really big late game finisher cards that could just get shut down by that card. But then as soon as Viego got nerfed to 6 mana, we saw Lee Sin get nerfed to 10 plus spells, and then Lee Sin got rotated, so he's not even in the game anymore. But all of this to say that Minimorph hasn't really found a spot in a Bandle City list that can consistently deal with big threats. Sure, you have Set Karma, sure you have Rise and all of this, but a lot of the Bandle City stuff that we've been seeing lately that's been really effective has been more of these Noxus strategies. There's one that I saw that was Nora with Broadmane, and it was a control list that went around that way. I ran into a list on Ladder that was I'm laughing now because it's a bit of a meme, but it was Tristana Teemo Noxus trying to take advantage of the buff to Bandle Gunners this patch as well.
Okay.
So usually a lot more low to the ground kind of games, and Galy's surrendering their second match. Excuse me, I was going to say first match, but second match against Void. Well, pretty close result there. A couple of control matches between the two. We'll see what game 3 holds. It looked like Galy was running Set Karma with Targon there for a second.
Yeah, that was Set Targon with Karma. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at these decks. All right, so Galy's running Nora Vagar, so not the Darkness, Heimer Jace, and Deep.
Yeah.
And then we have Void. Where are you? Pantheon Samira. I like it. That was a deck that I was kind of like dabbling in when Samira first came out. Then we have Aatrox Quinvane and Karma Sets. It looks like the Pantheon Samira was the ban. Karma Set was allowed to come through, which is the Targonian version. and Aatrox Quinn was allowed to go through. And currently, Galy is on Nora Deep. Not Nora Deep. I'm screaming. Nora Darkness. Imagine Nora Deep. Ooh.
There was a Nora Maokai deck that existed in when
See, I wasn't
Nora, like,
crazy. I
first
was
came
thinking of
out.
it. I was like, was there a Nora Deep? Was there a Nora?
There
Sunset?
was, but you would not be faulted for not remembering it because it was awful. It was it was terrible. It was not great. Because the entire idea of that deck back in the day was that you would intentionally go deep and then play eclectic collections so that you would guarantee the massive stat buffs.
Wow, that's so silly, but I love it.
Yeah, it's very silly, and that's
so
the reason
funny.
why it was dumb, because it was a little bit too goofy and a little too much goofs for your gaffs kind of thing. So, it yeah, not the craziest deck overall. Void is running Aatrox Vayne up against Galy's Nora Vagar.
Don't forget about Quinn. I want to Quinn.
Oh, well, I want to forget about Quinn. That's why I didn't include her.
I mean, I'm not sure, like I feel like I like the idea of Quinn, but only because you kind of don't want to run 3 Aatrox because it can get really clunky. And like we even saw that with the Kane Aatrox deck. I mean, mind you, that deck can draw into its champions given the world building conditions for both of those champions. But even so, you normally saw that at maybe 2 of for each champion. Sometimes it'd be 3 Kane, 2 Aatrox. So I can see it. And Quinn's a good unit, right? It's a good blocker. You got a 3/5 champion with a 2/1 challenger, Valor. I think it's still a good thing to include, even if it is just out of 1 of.
Well, it's a scout unit on top of that, and then you're bringing in all of these extra buffs in terms of the equipment. So not only are you punching in for 3 damage plus 2 with a challenger with scout, you're potentially punching in for a lot more than that because of equipment. Something I was going to say about Void's Hand was that they previously didn't have an equipment, but now they have the Darkened Spear, and it's gone. Thank you, Quietus.
There goes Quietus.
There it goes.
And Quietus.
Spell of Tutu was tough though. Like,
listen, no, because there was actually about to be a pretty big problem. Like, I think if anything, when it comes to even dark, I mean, I guess maybe all control matchups, but even darkness, having look at these portals. Having tough on a unit can really delay the level up. Sometimes it's just that 1 tick of darkness that you don't get off because of tough, and then it proves to be a problem later on. But as I was just saying, look at these portals. We ended up drawing into, first off, the Starlit Seer and the Vanguard Sergeant. The Starlit Seer is kind of crazy. I can see why Void is opting to block that unit. Not only is it a healthy trade, a trade, well, I guess a 1 for none type beat, but you also get rid of something that can buff the rest of the deck with all the spells that are going to be played. I'm giving spells to this unit.
I mean, it's scary getting any stats onto things. Oh my!
The Soothsayer came through. Oh, we have Spell Shield on Nora. How do we get rid of her? We have to play Valor. Valor has to be in charge.
You have to force blocks. That is really your only option. Oh, hey, there's another Nora in case the Nora that you. Good lord, Galy. Sometimes there's something that I like to sometimes refer to my opponents as whenever I just get hit by absolutely nutty draws like this. And I just call them the main character of LOR, because that is what we're running into right now, is Galy, with these portal draws, has become the main character of LOR. They are just pulling the most insane things out of this so far, and it has kept them in the match quite effectively. Meanwhile, Void, outside of that Darkened Spear, has not found a single weapon, of course, aside from Aatrox's as well, but has not found a single weapon in their deck, making a lot of their synergies that much less effective. You don't have the capability to play the Darkened Blade into a fish fight as reliably, or to use the tumble onto that Darkened Blade, because it's just not the best kind of equipment that you want, and that goes onto Aatrox by default anyway. So if you want to have your other units being more effective in this matchup, tough, it's not going to happen. And we see Soul Harvest being used, that recent buff, bringing it back into the eyes of the people.
No, because Soul Harvest that's a card. It's a strong card, especially now that it's going to be 3 mana just to kill the champion.
with 3 or less power, Void clears that requirement, but it does very effectively remove that scout threat from the board, and it doesn't give Void the rally ability anymore. You can't swing in with the scout to rally and give yourself a free attack token now. And here's the
here we go. We're almost leveled.
That's surprisingly fast. Turn 7 Nora, am I crazy in saying that I don't see Nora level that quickly? That often?
I've seen it leveled kind of faster, which was just only due to the opponent literally having nothing but Portapaloozas in their hand. And every single turn they just cast it, and then all of them came out at once.
Oh.
And I was just like, well, I guess you win. There's nothing I can do there. Oh man,
Okay,
I like this
character.
Void. You notice how Void switched to the Darken equipment to put the Aatrox weight onto Vayne, guaranteeing that regeneration to heal Vayne. What is this? 2 pranks. Oh wow.
Oh man. Now the funny thing about prank is that prank will permanently increase the cost of any equipment that you have. So if there was an equipment in hand here and this prank hit it, that would be a very expensive equipment permanently. So thank you, prank, buffing up our little Dark Hole Acolyte. Here's Veigar. Big swing. This gives a lot of value for Void. Gets to draw.
Oh, okay. I like those.
Ooh, yeah, great cards.
Ah, look at this prank. -2 power. Okay, that does nothing. We're just gonna. What if fish fight costs 6 mana? What are you gonna do about it? Really, give it vulnerable. Okay. I can see it. You want to be able to control the block because you know that's gonna come down as a blocker, and you don't want to necessarily get the trade in.
You get a free.
There you go.
Well, you previously got a free trade in, but you can still use the Perilous Pastry or the pastry to knock it down to 4 HP and then kill it with Benemone. So there are still lines of play here. It is a bit of a 2-for-1 trade in that case, unfortunately. Megatusk.
Not deep showing up in every deck. You can't escape
even when it's not a
debuffs.
deep.
Even when it's
you
not
can't escape
deep.
it.
You cannot. Oh man.
Wow.
Now Vayne is at what I believe 3 out of 4. Right, we're about to level Vayne. We can tumble here now. We see our opponent hasn't necessarily tried to remove anything. Usually, at least when I'm playing, I kind of presume that the opponent doesn't have the removal they're looking for, or they're being more patient with to see if any other unit comes down. I like this tumble onto Staratu with the ToF, because now all of a sudden this ToF is going to make it a lot harder for this unit to be removed unless we draw into a Vengeance of Mini-Morph, or we scale our darkness up to the degree that we need it at.
Shadow Isles Telstones is a great find as well. If Void didn't use the tumble here, the Shadow Isles Telstones could have gone into killing this Vayne immediately, trading one of these blockers off to remove the champion entirely. And oh, I like that little transition we have there. Thanks, Porter. I didn't even notice we had that before. Very cool. And here's a big Styradu coming in. And Styradu is a fantastic weapon just because of how able to get this wide board. Yeah, this. All right, yeah. Who's the big stat deck this
Or
time?
the Basia. Oh man, oh man, oh man. I mean, I think we can still live through that. It's looking rough, but we can live through it.
And this was a card we got off of the portal. We pulled the Broadwing out of the way, knowing that our opponent's only down to 3 cards in hand, and none of them are interaction right now. The only thing that's available right at this moment to prevent our own demise is blocking that Benemone. Do we want to do that? Probably.
Oh, man.
I would block it personally, and here's the reason why.
Oh, that's so... Oh my gosh. What
Mark
is this?
of the Isles.
Oh no! Oh
Yep.
man! There's nothing we can do. It's exactly lethal with Mark of the Isles. Wow. I understand why Void didn't block though, right? Because the Vayne is your win condition. You want to make sure that you're getting off these attacks, and if you're able to get Quinn down, maybe you can do a little something. But in this case, you know, we got punished for it. Our opponent ended up having the Shadow Isle Tailstones, which gives you the Mark of the Isle, which can pump you up to that 2 damage we needed to finish off the game. So it's tricky. It's so tricky. It's like, okay, they either kill me here or I live and I can keep it pushing, right? And even then, you know, LOR is elusive, but not just elusive, but elusive with spell shield due to the portals. Right? It's like, okay, we're gonna die to that elusive damage anyway. So let's see if we can play for a win con. Now we're gonna go on to
RNG
game
really
number
was
3.
the winner for that one as well. And not to discredit Galy playing around that, but like you drew Vanguard Sergeant to create the Fort Amasia, and then the Conchologist found the Shadow Isles Tailstones to give you Mark of the Isles. Granted, I think that there was a bit of a misplay not blocking the Benemone there, because of how we clearly had a Perilous Pastry in hand, and so it only takes one more of those to present lethal the following turn, and Void just simply wouldn't have had time with only a Vayne on board to try and swing back for a lot of things, while the remainder of Galy's board still stays intact. Very different story for this game, though. We have a weapon in hand, we have blocking Badger Bear, we're curving perfectly into it. This is much better for Void this time around. It's going to be a massive, massive threat for Galy in the upcoming rounds. Quite terrifying as
Jace Isn't it crazy that Jace is just simply surviving the test of time, going through each and every patch, being maybe one of the top tier decks ever. Now, kind of like making its run back, maybe on ladder. Right now, we are seeing it very often in tournaments as a reliable control option. Now, I noticed some people aren't running Albus, and I was concerned. Why are we no longer running our game ender that draws into Jace?
That's a great question.
I actually need to see. I'm gonna see. Let's look at Galy's deck real quick. Okay, we have it as a one of.
We have it as a one of. I think it might be the cost of it.
7.
Like you get it late game, and it's a great card. You get it early game, and it feels terrible. Your hand bricks finding 3 of those, and I think that's exactly why it might not be run as frequently in decks, is because the win condition is more based around getting that the 6-mana turret out more consistently, getting your 6-mana spells down, and having to rely on a quick attack unit that has a skill that has to attack to be useful isn't exactly reliable for Heimer Jace. That would be my assumption, but
that makes sense. I think it makes sense.
I would like it.
Yeah, at least a one of, not cutting it completely. I can see it being a one of. Ooh, look at this Dawning Shadow. I like that because if your opponent gives you the passes or plays a unit, you can go ahead and use that. The only thing that kind of sucks is that it's obviously not going to affect the formidable unit because it reduces power, not HP. So we're going to have to go ahead and kill that unit off the rip. Now we're going to take care of not only a unit, but an equipment, given that you can't equip the same equipment twice in a round. Unless you have like a spell like Catch.
Galy also had Ruination as an option there. But the reason why I think they didn't go for Ruination is because, one, they want to keep their board. And we are going to be killing the Badger Bear instead of the equipped. I think it's because we want to make the trade, right? We want to make sure that we're keeping this board short. But the reason why we're not using Ruination here is because, one, Galy knew that they wouldn't have mana to cast next turn, and they needed a spell to play next turn. And for 2, they wanted to keep their own board more intact by comparison. However, Blinding Soul into Valor into Darken Harp is the ultimate punish here. This is, that is painful.
4-mana combo, we had it, right? That's the thing about the Jace Heimer deck. When you are playing one of your answers, more often than not, you're playing something that's 6 mana or more. And at these early stages of the game, when you don't have the 12 or 13 mana to work with, that's your entire turn. So your opponent just has complete free reign to do whatever they want. And we saw it right here.
Jace with quick attack. But we also have an answer in a buffed Ranger Knight Defector with Cataclysm. He's going to take the 5 damage. We're already so far ahead with Void right now.
Oh my gosh, and another quick attack. Tumble on the Darkened Harp. Like this is the hand. Like if we ever needed a hand to beat a deck, this is it.
And you rally because it's hitting a scout token.
Mm-hmm. This is the scary unit. I mean, I guess all the scout units are scary, but this one in particular is very scary because you're not gonna be able to kill it with, you know, there's no more thermogenic beam. Mystic Shock isn't gonna cut it. Hino isn't cutting it. Caustic Griff isn't gonna cut it. You need a kill card. Either A, you need to be destroying the equipment with Quietus, or B, you need a Vengeance. Look at that. We already have a Vayne level up, and now we're just gonna be able to consistently be putting out this pressure. Going down to 1. Oh. Now, mind you, this is our opponent's board, right? Void only has this Ranger Knight, and if we're gonna commit to one of the Darken units, and we drew into Quinn. As I say, we only have one unit. But if we're gonna commit to one of the Darken, it's gonna take all of our mana. And then at that point, now Galy has free reign to kind of make the decision of what they need to do.
Rip the Vengeance is the answer. In fact, it's gonna double up. Make sure that we kill this thing. It is extra dead. Thank you.
Extra.
Leveled up Jace.
This is game right here.
We did pop deck the Quinn. We don't even care about the Quinn, actually.
Okay.
Forget that.
Ooh,
I forget that you can play the Quinn, the equipment like that.
So one card scary and it's overwhelmed. Okay. Woo. We can deal with draw. We can chump block draw. We couldn't chump block Zolati if she came out.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That was the only card. That or another Anaka. Either another Anaka or a Zolani would have been troublesome.
Man, there's some really narrow margins to be working with.
Mm-hmm.
Galy's
Okay, rips it immediately.
holding it together, but I don't think they will be for long. Quinn is available. They have the leveled Vayne that can drop now that gives you the free rally token. So it doesn't even matter that you've played Vengeance here. Your health is just simply too low. Tumble.
There it goes, GG.
Game out.
Wow. What a game. And we like now see like that's the power of Aatrox Vayne Quinn, right? Or even just the Aatrox Vayne variants. They are very good into these control matchups that simply the mana cost for their removal or their options that they can, you know, use, it costs too much, right? For 4 mana, we ended up playing Valor, the Darkened Harp, and took out 2 units for free. Like, that's insane to think of, right? Now, mind you, that's not to, you know, discredit any of the control lineups because they do have the ability to, like, they have the cards, right? You can either get Quietus or you get maybe some of the low-end cards to kind of deal with those units early on. But, wow, you know, that kind of pressure just doesn't do well. And that's why, I mean, I think you even saw, like, you know, Alawi J4 with Cataclysm, even Shen J4, you know, kind of, like, being good decks to fight, let's say, you know, Karma set, right? Or even Deep itself, right? If Alawi J4, if you get a certain hand, like you have a certain set of hands at the start of the game, you can kind of just kill your opponent on 4 or 5, and they can't do anything about it. You know, Alawi's smacking you, and that's just kind of like the power of these decks. That like I think that's like the mossiest power in general, and I think Cataclysm is just a really, really strong card, right? We didn't really get to see it showcased, but when you the interaction we got to see with the tumble, right? When you tumble a scout unit, when you free attack a scout unit, it gives you an attack token. And that in itself hasn't been changed. And we were even seeing that, you know, with Quinn Gwen, that I believe got nerfed because of the foyer. Now foyer doesn't give you that extra little unit to go and attack. They cut that out. They're like, hey, scouts should not be in the foyer. Get them out. They do a little bit too much right now. But wow, that was definitely still a good game, right? There's only so much that you can do when your mana cost is so high, and I think regardless of not taking the victory as a control, like, you know, when you play well, like really thinking your options, like, okay, I need to either pre-commit this or I need to wait for this, you know, and making sure that they had what they needed to kind of like try their best to stabilize. I'm wondering if no, because at that state of the game, challenge, like, because you see often people go with quick attack Jace, but I know oftentimes like you might want to consider challenger Jace. But I think at that state of the game, the units were just simply too big for Challenger Jace to even deal with at that point.
I personally like playing Challenger Jace a lot more than Quick Attack Jace because it gives me the ability to remove units. And if I'm already using 6-mana spells like Vengeance and everything else to keep my Jace on board anyway, I might as well be trying to control the board a little bit more beyond that. But Quick Attack Jace makes sense because you want to promote better trades. You want to make it awkward for my opponent to block. And so either one has its upsides and its downsides. Quick Attack makes trades more awkward, but your opponent can choose what they want to block with. Jace with Challenger chooses what it wants to remove outright and also has the ability to just protect the board with everything else on top of it. So it's like it's a give and take when it comes to that sort of thing. And really not a whole lot that I can fault to Galy either way. Void really showing off just how powerful Aatrox Quinn Vayne is. The Demacia rally strategy is still proving to be very effective against these slower combo or control decks, and that'll continue to be the case for a while now. I believe that because of the way that the decks were changed around, like let's say for example, Karma Set, really good control deck, does not do well in a Cataclysm decks, namely in this tournament that we've seen the most of, Aatrox Quinn Vayne. And that is still going to be true, if not even more so, now that Karma has less health. Now, argument aside for Karma's set being like, oh, well, Karma's not nerfed at all because she has one less health. It doesn't matter because Karma's set can still stun, it can still recall and everything. In a very hypothetical world, like a 15% chance, though, where Karma doesn't have those spells and is forced to be played early, there is the opportunity now that these Cataclysm decks have to remove her. We saw with the Valor that was on board. Valor received the Darken Blade from the Aatrox that had been slain earlier, and that was a 3-attack unit with Cataclysm. So now that low of a unit can remove Karma if she is played early in an emergency scenario. Do I think those scenarios are going to come up very often? I don't think so. And that's the reason why I don't think Karma Set was really nerfed with that HP change. But it is an option now. It's not like we've been totally it's not like the nerf doesn't have ramifications. It's just that the ramifications probably weren't as severe as people were hoping, especially because we're seeing a lot of Karma Set in this tournament tonight as well. So it's
because I mean, let's look at these deck stats, right? Heimer Jace 8, Maokai Nautilus 7, Karma Set 5, Aatrox Quinn 5. And then the final and fifth deck is Pantheon Samura, which I like. It's a nice little spice, you know, trying to see if there's any other decks outside of the fifth Samura that Samura can kind of work with, right? We already see that they basically Noxian, Daybreak, Leona KO Samura, even just Samura, Leona was nerfed, right? I'm not sure if it was nerfed that hard. I mean, I feel like some people were already like you're already playing Leona on turn 5, so as long as you curve with Daybreak each and every time on each turn, it can work. But I guess it is a little bit harder because you're not guaranteed to get those units on curve. And I'm not sure how strong the nerf was onto the 3-mana Daybreak unit, though. The 1/1 takeaway, I think it probably was strong. It makes sense because now even with Daybreak against Piltover, it can die to Aftershock. Whereas before, when you brought it out, it was a 3/4, and so it could not die to Aftershock. You need to double up Mystic Shot, and there were a lot of units basically at 3 mana that just also didn't have the power to deal with it. So I can see how that's kind of fallen off a bit, but I don't think it got as hard as a nerf as Samura is, because that deck got hit. You know, especially the Burbling Fish, and as well, I think more notably, what's the card that draws when you plunder? Inferna now being at 4 HP makes a huge difference. Like, that's a double Mystic Shot. I can deal with that, right? If I have a Valor, I can Valor Scout kill that, and we're good to go. I no longer have to worry about that block, you know? But if we're looking at all of these decks, like look at this percentage. Shadow Isles, 18.4%, followed by Piltover at 17.5%. So even though Karma Set isn't at the tippity top, it seems like Piltover is still one of the more reliable regions that we're always going to see. I mean, even then with Shadow Isles, like if anything, if there's like a top 5 regions, well, I mean, there's not that many regions. So let's do top 3 regions, right? It probably is like, I guarantee you Shadow Isles and Piltover are always going to be there. I cannot see any other region like overtaking those two. The only one that I could maybe consider maybe in top, maybe as a third option, I want to say Noxus, just because Noxus tends to be in all of the aggro variants, and if it's not aggro, it's broad main control. Like those tend to always float around and not necessarily die. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Shadow Isles and Piltover and Zon have had a really strong region identity, especially after the rotation that narrowed down the scope of what we want to see in both of these regions. Specifically for Shadow Isles, let's say that you're building a deck and you want to try and counter out a specific kind of meta. You want to remove key units, you want to heal, you want to have maybe AoE wipes, that sort of thing. And that is what Shadow Isles does so consistently. So if you are playing control, you usually pair Shadow Isles with a control list. Piltover and Zon, we've seen used really effectively in a lot of different strategies. We've seen it used in Burn with Noxus. We've seen it used in Control with Shadow Isles. We've seen it used in combo in these BB lists with Bilgewater. And that's why I think Piltover and Zon is so good right now, is because it is so modular. You can put it into pretty much anything as a good either support unit or even as a primary support unit. I meant to say region, but support region and primary region, just to make all of these strategies so much more effective. And heck, when you combine Shadow Isles and Piltover and Zon, you have the ultimate attrition deck, the ultimate deck of I want to remove everything and you cannot have fun. That is not
like,
that is
like what
basically
do
like
you
how it
do?
works.
They have some of the best removal tools in all of Legends of Runeterra, right? Like even Ionia, yes, you can talk, Ionia kind of maybe talks down to, the Shadow Isles and the Piltover variants, given that they have, denial. But at the end of the day, sure, you can recall my unit, sure, you can stun my unit, but that unit's still gonna be there, right? You might just delay it by one turn. I'm gonna get that swing in, whether you like it or not. Whereas Shadow Isles just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this right now. You can just, you're gone. You're gone. You're done. And then if you like have other combinations like Bandle City, with darkness, you do get access to burst removal. Because Minimorph, when it first came out, as you mentioned, in its peak, was a menace of a card, and everyone was just like, "F this card." But mind you, people were also in support of it because hey, Lee Sin exists, and he's killing you at 20 HP with a kick. And if you don't have an answer to that, well, I guess you die. So it seems like there are some cards that, although they seem like the villain, they're just a mean of kind of like being that like that like anti-hero, so to speak. Like, this isn't the card that I want to support, but like if I don't, like there's a reason to the madness, right? Minimorph exists for a reason, and maybe at the time that it had been printed, we didn't really see it all in its potential. But like as the game progresses and we see other cards that come through, we're like, yeah, I kind of need some burst silence, kill that, because if I don't, I'm dead.
It's the idea of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I don't want to work with Minimorph, but damn, I hate Lee Sin. That's kind of the.
Listen, I was I
idea
can't lie, I
behind
was a
it.
fan of Lee Sin when someone put me onto that. I was like, what is this? I can just kick people. This is fun. And then there are some games that you can like just beat them down with Dragonlings, and I'm just like, you know what? This is now a beatdown deck, suffer. And I've done that to like other aggro decks where I just was dishing out 3 Dragonlings each turn. I was just like, what you gonna do about it? Not only am I like hitting you, I'm healing. Figure it out.
Dragonlings. Nick makes plays is in the corner crying right now. I don't know if you know that streamer, but Nick Makes Plays has been consistently like a really top tier streamer who absolutely hates Eye of the Dragon.
I think what top one at that in leaderboard. Shoot, hold up. I'm gonna look at the leaderboard right now.
Posts
I
about
know.
being number 1 on the leaderboard pretty much every day, so he like keeps getting it back. I think Drizzoff.
Number 2 right now. Right now it's Infinite Patrons.
Oh, Infinite Patrons.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, Infinite Patrons. Then it's Nick. Then it's Drizzoff, followed by Ichiramen, and then a name that I cannot pronounce because it's in another language.
Wow, that is a competitive. I remember Grandpa Roji was also on front page when I saw it earlier today. So yeah, real competitive top tier of the Legends of Runeterra right now. But going back to your thing about Noxus as well, being a really modular region, I think with the removal of Ravenous Flock and those sort of strategies, we saw a bit of a decline in the control aspect. And then with the removal of Katarina and all of the cards associated with her, including Shunpo, we saw a decline in that side of the strategy. No more Red Gwen running around, for example.
That was a mess.
But I still think that Noxus has its place in some combo decks, funny enough. Yes, we are seeing Fizz Samira, and you can argue that that is aggro, but we also have Samira Varus as one of the top decks being, well, it's tied for 5th place with Pantheon Samira. But Samira combo, Pantheon Samira, Samira Varus, both of those are very combo heavy ideas where you want to have a lot of these spell based synergies to rally effectively, have really big units on board, and then crush people over the back of the head with it. But then on the other side of the coin, you have these Annie lists that are trying to play more towards the broad main side of things. And if you're not playing Annie pseudo combo control, I don't even know what to call it. I play the deck and I don't know what to call it.
It's weird. I would say control because you're killing things and that's it. Like you're not really swinging all too often. You're not playing a wide board.
That's fair. You're trading spell value for units.
Yeah,
so
I would say spell value. I mean, usually you're trying to end with DDDD.
T-Bulk?
Tibok. Yes, I was about to call Tibok Tibers, which I guess is one of the same.
It technically is Tibers.
Technically.
Yeah.
All right. Oh man. So
that's
you ready for the next match, Kai? We have TKG samsans. No, I said I don't know. I don't know.
I don't consent to this.
We have TKG samsans versus ToF Trust. Look at that, though. This is Aatrox Bilgewater. I know this is the Zolani deck, right? The Zolani the Bloodweaver, which, you know, when empowered to 16, transforms into this big unit and then can transform every other unit into an exact copy itself, swinging for an astronomical amount of damage. We have Trust over here on the Senna Darkness, one of the classics. Let me look at this Aatrox deck real quick. Dark and Ballista.
Samsans lied to me.
Samsans lied to you?
Samsans lied to me. He so I remember last week when he played the Nomulus Targon Bilgewater list.
Yeah.
And I just like could not get it out of my head. Where my brain was like, that's kind of funny. And Samsans replied to me and he said, "I'm so sorry for baiting you. I will bring real decks this week." And he's bringing Mono Aatrox, which is only 2 copies with a Reaver's Row. This is a
now hear me out though.
I will not.
It's been popping up. It was doing things. It's been doing things. Okay, listen. When we get to that turn, it isn't going to be turn 7, but when we get to that turn where Zolani's coming out, you'll see why. Like I feel like the only other Zolani, specifically Zolani the Bloodweavers. Remember, there's 2 Zolanis for anyone watching. There's the Dark and Bloodletters, which is Zolani a 6/6 with Overwhelm. While Zolani the Bloodweaver just infinitely grows. The condition for that is that a unit with a 1-cost unit, actually no, excuse me, any unit has to die, but it has to be buffed in power when it dies in order to contribute to that level up. So as you can see here, Trust is going ahead is opting to remove as many units as possible because although yes, Zolani is scary, Zolani doesn't matter if there are other, like not necessarily doesn't matter, but it's more doable to deal with one Zolani Bloodweaver that has like 20 damage with Overwhelm compared to like 5 of them.
I'm gonna cry. This is too much for my brain to handle.
What if we just pass?
What if we do just pass?
What if we just pass?
I mean, we burn a lot of mana out of Samsans' hand. We keep the Vagar on board. Yeah, look, we burn 4 mana off of that turn. Granted, Samsans does have a pretty intimidating board right now. Pun, I guess, not intended with the fearsome side of things. But on the other hand, Trustiano.
I feel like Trust is like that. Like you were saying that Samsans' board is scary. Darkness and Trust's board is scary. Look at this. We're about to increase Darkness by 2. That's already going to be a 7 mana, not 7 mana, excuse me, 7 damage Darkness with no way to deal with Vagar on board. We leveled
I hate
yet?
to do this mid.
Like, yeah.
I hate to do this to you mid broadcast, but I'm gonna go get some water. Like, I need to hydrate before I come back to this match.
Go grab some water. Now, in this case, it's a difficult situation for Samsung because, mind you, Veigar isn't leveled yet, but that darkness is ramping. We're not that far. We're 7 out of 12 for Veigar level up. We don't really have any one drops that we can play effectively. And now that Senna's come down, this darkness is going to be at fast speed, meaning that we could just simply point and click, point and click, point and click, which is going to kill all these units off before Solani comes down. Mind you, the thing about Solani the Blood Weaver, yes, these units are dying, but they're also contributing to the level up, which is really good. You know, but here we go. Look, there goes Solani.
It's a big Zolani. Darkin also draws
What?
the Aatrox, which is nice. I'm back, by the way.
Wait. Does it empowered counts for equipment too, right?
Correct.
Wow, so we just need one more kill, and then we're good to go.
The funny thing is, this attack doesn't transform yet, but it does force answers out of Trustiano. Because you kill these two units, but then Zolani becomes a 19 attack unit.
Yikes.
So
this is so tricky. Like this is, I think I like this turn, and it is the turn that we really need to try to go all out with Zolani, even though Zolani's like quote unquote not leveled. Right, Senna's spell, which, because we did play Senna this turn, costs 7 mana, so we don't have the ability to play that right now. We have to figure out something else out. We have to block. We don't have a choice. We can block with the 3/4. No. Ooh, gonna block with Senna. Still lethal.
Yep. I mean,
Like,
that's how you have to do it.
is still crazy.
There you go.
Now we have what? I think even despite that, we still win. I think we win because of Senna. So Veigar gets a darkness, we shoot. Senna swings, we get another darkness, we shoot. So that's already what? I think 16 damage. We're about to find. I mean, we got one right now.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Look at this. And I think,
You
like,
know what, samsans, I'm sorry for clowning on you. You,
listen, this deck is something. I've seen it before. Samsans I'm not sure if Samsans cooked this himself, but it's doing a little thing or two. There it goes. Game 1 going to Trust.
Darn. Darkness still
oh
proving really effective, and especially if you have a bunch of units that can die pretty easily to removal. And in terms of interaction, you really don't have a lot in that list. There's no heavy metal. There's no challenger units really, unless you get Steam out on board. And even then, you're trying to then punch up against the Twisted Catalyzers. You're punching up against the Veigar. You are so safe to play Veigar in this strategy specifically that you just can't. There's really no space, unfortunately, for Aatrox to operate in, or any of the units that you play. And all the units dying to darkness makes your strategy so much weaker, because you can't swing back for a bunch of damage. You can't keep a board together, which is what the strategy ultimately is, and what we saw was taken apart. So darkness just feels like the perfect counter to that strategy. This is a very cheap hand for samsans, though. All 1 mana cards.
This is good. I think this is a good hand for Samsans. Like, now we really just need to draw into Reavers, and I want to say eventually Zolani. Like, we don't need Zolani necessarily to come back so too soon.
Yeah, we
can go ahead to Quietus.
Ooh,
that's a good hit. That's an excellent hit. Because remember, not Quietus, excuse me. The Bloodletters summons a 1-drop. And those 1-drops can contribute to, well, I should say, can get buffed by Reaver's Row. So right now we just simply need to try to get as much removal in as possible. We do have the lifesteal, right? We do have the fearsome blockers, right? Look at Trust's hand. We have those Dead Bloom Wanderers. What, Dead Bloom Wanderers? What are they called? Hold on. Yeah, Dead Bloom Wanderers. Okay. over here, I'm questioning it. There's so many cards. I'm like, wait, is that the name of that card?
It's a game of Jeopardy every time.
Every single time.
We cast this. It's like, you're running what now? It's Fallen Star? Huh? Paddle Star was just buffed outright? Okay. All right, we'll roll with it. We'll do it live, I guess. Here's Trust with both of those Deadly Wanderers on board. That is 6 HP worth of healing. That is a fearsome blocker, like you mentioned before. And samsans, right now, aside from that unending wave, has a pretty mediocre hand. Darkened Wave is played to draw 1 copy of Aatrox, so we are at least guaranteed that. And looking at possibly trading the Crackshot Corsair down to get more of those procs for Zolani in the future. And the Darkened Lodestone played onto the Jagged Butcher makes it so that the Deadly Wanderer actually cannot swing safely.
We're about 10 away from deep. Oh, gonna go ahead and buff the 3-2. Okay, I like it. You're spreading the damage. It forces a block. Look at that. Healing
a lot
by
of
1.
tosses for Trustiana, though.
Yeah, a lot. Like, not having a challenger unit here, I mean, I should say Steam, you know, to try to get vulnerable to all of these units. When you are blocking with Sea Scarab at the end, it's not going to guarantee all of the tosses on the upon the death of these units.
I'll shoot the wings off a bilge wasp.
Abyssalize Blade, that's going to be another problem you have to deal with in the near future.
I mean, I guess Aatrox can kind of heal us. We're at 20 HP, so we're safe in terms of HP for now, right? Our opponent isn't just at deep. Mind you, Trust does have 1 jettison, so that's going to guarantee 4. We're playing the Undergrowth, that's going to guarantee another 3. So we're almost there. If not there right now.
Yeah, that should take us deep. Now, Shipwreck Order getting tossed is great, too. That is something that you want to see tossed before you get the Nautilus down, because the Nautilus shuffles it back into the deck, and then you have the capability of finding it later. Elegant Edge is found as well, but suddenly going deep means that Trustiano can punch you in the face for 6 instead of what was previously 3. And even with Aatrox on board now, you are running into the problem of that Abyssal Eye being a actually technically valid block for it.
I mean,
You
even
really wanted to go for that.
like even with Aatrox on 6, like Nautilus is coming down on the literally the turn after. That's about to be a whole 13. I wonder if we swing with the buff going on to Aatrox instead the Harazi buff, because we could do that, buff it up to a 7/7. Mind you, now the Nautilus is down, doesn't matter. Our swing is kind of null and void.
You could. I wonder if there. No, that doesn't work. I was thinking of maybe you replace Steam with Kale.
Team with Kale.
But then you can't play this strategy because then that would be 3 regions, so that doesn't work. I was just trying to think of like other ways to get these units buffed for Reaver's Row or for the Zolani more reliably.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to take out all of the darkened weapons aside from Lodestone.
I mean, Zolani's is here. We just drew into Zolani. As long as things are able to die, we can buff Zolani up to the necessary power that we need to possibly block the Nautilus.
It's true. It's also a wave we didn't use on Ending Wave. In case anyone was curious, we didn't want to try and use Unending Wave and then burn a Zolani, because that is honestly our win condition right now for samsans.
Yeah, because the only thing that can deal with Zolani is going to be the Nautilus spell or a Vengeance. Those are the only 2 cards, and if our opponent doesn't have it, then we're free to get in the nice juicy swing.
Funny enough, we do have the Nautilus spell in hand. So there is that option for samsans right now. But if samsans plays the timing right and Trustiana goes below that 4 mana to send the Zolani back to where it came from, yeah, that could be pretty good. Oh, losing the Shipwreck Order kind of sucks though, a second time.
Yeah.
Now that Nautilus is leveled up, you can't find that again, meaning that you don't get those treasures anymore. Man, they are going down to the depths.
Okay, see, some of these were good tosses. Another Abyssal Eye. Oh, Zolani's here. Look at that.
Solani is large and in charge.
Oh, and we're getting the World Ender.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Okay.
I gotta wait for the animation. Okay. Nautilus is not at an HP value right now that worries too much about Aatrox with Overwhelm. But what is worrying is the fact that we have the access to all of the Darkens now at a reduced cost, because Aatrox, correct me if I'm wrong, but Aatrox is not an aura, it's basically a Nexus effect like Zoe.
The aura. So Aatrox is an aura. The only two, I think, Nexus effects in the game are Zoe and Hecarim right now.
Oh.
So Aatrox would have to be on the field to allow it. And see, there we go. Right? The thing, like, Deep has been known to beat the Aatrox variants. Given Devourer, you can obliterate not only a unit, but if there's an equipment on said unit, it will also obliterate that. And it simply gets bigger than Aatrox can level up. So remember, the Aatrox, when initially that champion came out, I believe World Ender requirement was what? At like 13, 14? What was the amount that you needed to strike? I think it was like either 13 or 14. But either way, it was like you could get it really fast. Like you can start World Ending on like, I think like 6 or 7 if you had the scout unit paired, the ranger knight paired with an equipment. If you're, as long as you're getting those strikes in. But now that it's at, I think, 16, if you're not really getting into those equipment, you're not striking. It's a lot harder to kind of get that. You have to probably play that around what, like 8 or 9, which is much later. And by that time, I want to say like Deep has already, secured Deep. You can get Deep as early as turn 5, but that's like the nuttiest of hands, right? And maybe even a Soul Cleave at that if you really wanted to get it that early. But it simply gets bigger, reaches its win con a little faster than Aatrox. I think it can go either way. I think it really depends on the hands, because Aatrox, especially the Demacia versions, can take on Deep. If you're putting pressure on Deep, they really can't handle it. Even with the introduction to some removal options, like you have Devourer, you have Vengeance, you have Quietus, you have the Soul Cleave, and you have the what is the? I need to look at the deck list now. What is the spell that drains 2, tosses 3?
Undergrowth.
Undergrowth. There you go. And you have to, like that. I feel like when that card was printed, I feel like all Deep players were just like, "Oh my gosh, this card!" And it is like it's the perfect card for Deep, right? You tell me I could drain 2 and toss 3 for 3 mana. Don't mind if I do.
It was a national holiday. All the D players were out in the streets celebrating. That's what it was. Wow. So Trustiano has made it to the finals once again in the Lancers tournament.
Trust is killing it.
Gal is an absolute machine. They are playing this so incredibly well. I do want to apologize for flaming samsans. I do think that the deck is pretty funny. I just find it funny that he said, "Don't worry, I bring real decks this round," and it ends up being Reaver's Row Aatrox. But you know what? You kick ass and take names. I won't tell you how to do it otherwise. So
listen, they made it to the point in the tournament where they are. They were kicking some butt. That's it.
Oh, and what was the finest that I made? What was the finals that I made in a tournament? Oh, right, I've never made it past round 1, so I can't really be talking smack anyway myself.
I'm happy to say that I finally made it to like round 2, and that's it. I made it to round 2.
Heck yeah.
That's an accomplishment in itself.
You would think that after I've watched some 30+ hours of competitive Runeterra alone, that I would know how to play this game better, but alas.
Right, we're literally watching the pros, the best of the best, play their hearts out, win these tournaments. But the moment you put me at the control panel, it's just like, you know what? What if I do this? Meanwhile, it's like the worst misplay in existence. Because
you know that
it is what it is.
You know that like post-ironic meme that's like the boxing guy, and he's like, "I'm gonna do this, but damn, it got hands," and he's like sitting down sipping water afterwards. It's like I'm gonna enter into a tournament. damn, round one got hands. Like that's how I feel.
That's how it is.
About some things as well.
All right. Whew. The next
yeah.
match we have Void fighting EIGHTestagiario, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is Soj King on the brackets. So Void is playing the Karma set Targon versus the Karma set Piltover. Oh, hold up. I have a slight disconnect. We'll get that second hand back soon.
I think this is such a tough matchup.
This is a mess of a matchup. I wouldn't want to fight it.
I think the Piltover's on version wins more.
Really? I was gonna say the Targon version because it can heal.
Well, it can heal, sure, but in scenarios like this, right, where you're getting hit with a Celestial Impact, there are already so many options that the Ionia side can offer, plus the extra draw power that you have inside of Piltover and Zon.
Okay, true.
But we don't have answers right now. We do have. Funny enough, we do have the Stand United in hand, but all it would have done would have been swap Karma back to where it was before. However, that drum solo draws the second Karma. We're not at all in any danger. In Tamagiano, my stream is extremely blocky right now, so I'll have to look over at the list. That's just my Testagiario. There we go. That's the name of the player. They play the production surge there to just level up the set, or get the set token, and also swing in for some extra damage. But make sure they don't burn a card the following turn. Void using a concussive palm to keep the set at bay for now. 9 HP versus 20.
Oh man, and the thing is, like, I can see your reasoning for the Piltover Ionium version, because not only that, like, it has burn, right? You get Karma down, and you can suddenly start playing Mystic shots, straight to your opponent's face, and what they can.
Right.
What can you do? You can't spell shield your Nexus, and even then, you can only, if you theoretically could, it would only be once. I'm kind of hoping. I'm thinking that if they ever bring Janna, I'm not sure. You're familiar with League, right? You have and Janna.
Yeah.
She's a if they brought her to the game, I wouldn't like to see her be able to shield the Nexus somehow. I feel like that'd be kind of cool. Look at this, Hush on Karma.
Hellstone's buff coming in.
You can double Hush.
By the way, I forgot about this. You can run 6 copies of Hush now.
Yes, they did come out with that buff.
I mean, Void is at 4 mana versus 9, but Karma is useless right now in Testagiario's hand, or on board. Funny enough, the card that we do have. Okay, well, this is just going to get denied. I don't see any of the ways.
Oh, we could just spell shield it. I feel like it should have been denied because spell shield. Yeah, spell shield gets killed by Mystic Shot. It definitely should have been denied.
Yep.
Rough.
And then we're saving Mystic Shot for that damage to face, like you said.
That might be the only way, especially if, like, let's say, shoot, how many Karmas? I'm gonna go look right now. Hold up. Disregard that statement. I think this is second Karma, I want to say.
I feel confident in agreeing with you in some ways.
Because I saw one die earlier.
In other ways, I don't know if I can, because who knows how many rounds. We joined this game pretty late.
We have 6 cards left.
Oh my gosh.
We have literally 6 cards left.
Oh my good lord.
So, I mean, hopefully whatever it is, we got it. Oh, what? Oh, shoot. Set automatically got the showstopper at the end of the round once the silence came off.
Oh, because that's really weird how the interaction works.
Yeah, there's other champions that do that too. It's basically the I've seen X, Y, and Z happen, I think, or like, fulfill X condition. And if it's a condition that doesn't necessarily like require the unit to be on field, because like you can have set in hand, play set, and as long as you filled the 12 mana for that round, you're gonna get the showstopper. So in this sense, it's weird. It's a weird
very
thing.
strange.
It is
would think
like
you would think it's been silenced.
No,
Its
I would
effect
think
should
that
not be taking place.
No, that's what I'm thinking, right? But like it basically takes place in the background. It just can't give you its reward for filling the condition that round. But because Hush ends at the round, and then like first Hush has to dissipate, then any effects have to go off. So because Hush dissipates and the effect goes off, it gives you Showstopper. Like I'm hoping that maybe it's not supposed to be a feature, but as of right now, it is.
So weird. Huh. I guess, yeah, it just kind of minimizes the tab on that process. It just kind of works in the background.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be thinking about that for a while.
Same. It's like this is interesting. So right now we do have the Karma Ionia versus the Spooky Donger. Heimerdinger Jace.
The Dark Donger. Some people call it. The Dark Donger. The Shadow Isles Jace. Whatever you want to call it. Either way, it's the classic archetype that we know and love.
Oh, here we go. Challenger on Jace. I like it. Immediately with the Sunburst.
Come on! Shot down. And there, I feel you on that, Testigario. I mean, that was Galy. Yeah, that is a. I gotta say, that name is a combination of consonants and vowels that my mouth is not used to formulating.
Yeah, it's. I wouldn't be surprised if it's related to Spanish or Portuguese.
Yeah.
That's the spelling of it.
Would it be wrong for me to say Italian at all?
I feel like any of the Roman languages would work.
Okay.
I think some are. I think there's certain languages that are really higher on the tier list. But like, yeah, it definitely looks like this. Definitely does not look like, Z.
It's definitely not my mind auto-completing audio with an M in the front of it and thinking, yes, Italian.
Now, we've casted in Mystic Shot tournament, and there was a tournament in which everyone and their mother brought control, and it was a very long tournament. In this case, this tournament is very similar. We do have a lot of control matchups, and even with the Karma decks being brought as well, you see that this deck wants to make it to round 10, and the control decks also have no problem going to turn 10. Look at this. The Sunburst immediately onto the Jace. Gonna go ahead and Vengeance the set. We don't want that to start taking control over the board. We do have Karma in hand. I'm not sure if we're gonna play Karma this turn, per se. Maybe we want to get some cards animation. I think we're okay. We do have some draw. The crazy thing is... Oh, we're gonna block. Okay. Oh, gonna go ahead and cash into the Pale Cascade. I like it. So you get the block in. Your unit is gonna heal up at the end of the round anyway. Like, that's such a strong unit, especially against like aggro. Oh my gosh! Like, look at this healing. Just sticking onto 20 HP.
I ran into a list. I do not remember what it was. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was playing. I was playing Jack Udyr.
Jack Udyr. I think I heard about that briefly.
Well, yeah, understandably, it had like a brief moment in the spotlight where it was brought entirely just because, oh, how do we level Jack? Oh, we strike more? How do we keep things alive? Regeneration. That was kind of the flow chart of ideas. And Pocket Picker is that 1 mana 2/1 with Last Breath that creates a coin. And I had 2 of them in my opening hand, and my opponent just slams Cosmic Youngling. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, no, I can't. No, I can't really make effective trades anymore. That's awesome. Yeah. And so that is like what that card does so incredibly well. I'm imagining in Eternal format, it's also really good with Soraka now. And here's Void throwing out so much control options. We've seen 2 Jaces removed from Sunburst. We've now seen this timer removed as well from Fallen Star. And we have to burn a Quietus on top of a Mystic Shot to kill this Cosmic Youngling. The number of 2-for-1 trades that we have been seeing pulled out from Void so far has been incredible. Blessing of Targon as well. Now we trade up into things.
Oh, that's a permanent too. Oh
yeah,
my gosh! Wow.
It is a grant effect.
So at this point, like, I feel like if you're Test, you want to do exactly this, which is just continuously swinging wide. You know your opponent's going to heal for 1 each round. You're like, okay, I just need to start dealing more damage than they can. And on Void's side, we saw how they were simply like, hey, if you're bringing out a champion, I am literally going to kill it ASAP. And I think that's especially important for Heimerdinger, right? Heimerdinger is going to be giving us those turrets and giving us the capabilities of swinging wide. Because no, we can see Tessa's hand right now. We have 3 caustic rifts. Like, sure, we can, you know, go ahead and deal with this 4-3 right now if we wanted to in that manner. Probably gonna save it though. We don't necessarily need to. We can go ahead and do this piercing darkness. We can heal up. Like mind you, Tess was low HP. Like we were kind of like we were getting there, and now we're all the way back up.
I just think of that. The evil has been defeated, and it's just this cute little winged unicorn thing.
Oh, cashing in an acceleration gate. I like it.
Taking advantage of the fact that Void does not have a very wide board right now, has to play the Karma in response to a lot of things, but Karma does give you opportunity to do stuff with your hand. As soon as we get the second hand back,
shoot, more than just one.
Guiding Touch to double heal.
Oh,
we have
which one's the set?
to double draw with the coins. We find the set. We have Sunburst. We have another Cosmic Youngling. Did you think that you won off of that attack, which was actually very well informed? Wrong. Karma is here, in high gear. Have no fear.
Insane. And like, if we had, this is where you start to notice that like how strong the champions are, right? If we had Jace in that moment, our units would have gotten an extra buff along with a keyword, and one of those keywords very well could have been elusive or even overwhelm.
That's painful. Obliterate a Karma.
Is that right? Because we do have another Karma in hand. We can go ahead and create more copies. Set's gonna come down.
Obsidian Dragon level up skin. Void has spent money on this game. Support the devs.
That's a good skin. The Jack skin goes hard. The Jack that skin, they did not need to do that. Whoever it is getting their skull grabbed and then tossed up into the dragon, I'm sorry. You must have did something wrong. Cause you got
God, I wish that were me. No,
I'm playing. Can't stand you. Oh man. So in this sense, we're gonna go ahead.
Effectiveness.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You know what? Discord latency. We talk over each other. I apologize. But here's the effectiveness of Karma being fully utilized as well. We we burn a set. We burn a Targonian Tellstones. We burn a Smooth Mixologist. But here's the effectiveness of Karma being fully realized. We have the tag out that we drew from those Place Your Bets to put set back in hand. We have the coins to refill our mana. We were down to 3 mana at the end of that turn after the coin was used. Now back up to 13, down to 6. We can place the set again. We have the mana to play. Well, if we had the space of it, we would have created the coin. But Karma now stands alone on this board. Meanwhile, Test is alone in their own endeavors, proccing flow for next turn. Nothing else.
Is terrifying. This is so scary. Like, I feel like at this point, Void is just taking complete control. I'm not sure if there is an out. Like, maybe Albus, but even then, Albus would get Sunburst. Another champion would get Sunburst. Anything that comes through is gonna either get killed or obliterated. Ooh, draw. Okay, decided to get formula all for the manifest.
We love formula in household. At least in Test's position. Hey, another formula. In case you wanted one more.
We're not dead per se. We can live next turn. What's that gonna be? 5, 6. If we don't get any obliterates, okay. Look, another Targonian Tellstones created by Karma.
Ooh, Deny is burned. Void is losing a lot of really key cards by keeping their hand so full.
I feel like this is it's kind of like the consequence of karma, because you have no choice, and like all of these are so expensive, you don't really want to play them. I can see maybe the argument for Celestial Impact, given that it's going to heal you, but even then, I feel like once you're at this stage of the game and you have the answers in hand, sure, let my whole deck get obliterated. Oh, that deny? Can we draw? I don't even think we can draw into another. What is this? Oh shoot, we're gonna go ahead and buff Karma. Look at that. Wow, GG Void. We're about to go to a game 3. That was well played.
That might
right
have been
now, mind you, was that game 3? Possibly. We'll have to check it out. I know game. Well, the first one we should watch, I should say, lasted quite a while. Like because they were going down the timer.
I mean, it was a set Karma mirror with different flavors.
Yeah, and we know how that kind of mirror is gonna go. Yeah. That's just log. So we'll find out.
It still does not top the insanity that was the Nora Swain.
The Nora Swain? Yeah, oh my gosh.
I keep bringing it back up, but like,
it was
come
such
on,
a good
man.
match.
It was such a good match. It was so fun.
For viewers who don't know, if you're not maybe keeping up with Mystic Shot took a quick break, but We the Peoples will be returning with that tournament. There was a match that me and Kai casted. There was okay. Wow, they really went at it match 1. We have 11 minutes to
12 minutes left.
Only 12 minutes left. Like I'm telling you, that first game was crazy. Like they really were taking their time with it. I mean, mind you, like what do? You kind of have to. It's the Karma set mirror. But as I was saying, me and Kai had casted a match that was a Nora Swain versus each other, and both players kept playing Aloof Travelers to discard their champions, and they kept discarding each other's win conditions back and forth, killing everything that would come out.
Not only that, but there was also, I think, 1 or 2 Aloof Travelers in there, because both players were so afraid of playing units to level each other's Swains. And there was an Aloof Travelers that was played that both discarded a Swain and obliterated a Leviathan in the same turn, like on the exact same card. It was insanity.
Ooh, Soul Harvest coming out.
Soul Harvest, knowing that Void doesn't have mana to buff this dragon.
I actually like
White Flame. Yep.
I like both Soul Harvest, right? You get the dragon, which is one of the main threats in this deck. You don't want it to get buffed up because at that point you won't be able to deal with it. And also doing it on the gem. What's that unit called? I'm about to the cultist, the gem cultist.
Lunari cultist.
Yeah, Lunari cultist. Doing it even on that unit. Now some may be like, oh my, hit the Lunari cultist. Mind you, remember, by Lunari cultist, once we're able to equip something, give us a gem, and those gems contribute to Pantheon's level up. So we want to make sure that if we're gonna delay the win condition for Samira Pantheon, that we're continuously getting rid of either A, the units that are gonna get buffed, or B, the options that they have to buff their units, with Lunari cultist being one of them.
Test was hesitant to rip the Mystic Shot there, fearing a Pale Cascade from Void. Void didn't have it to get punished for it in full with the use of that card. I'm losing my mind. Darkened Lodestone. Here comes a Shock Blast. We could have potentially used the Furious Wielder to keep the Saga Seeker alive, but at that point you might as well just drop the second Wound of White Flame and put the Darkened Lodestone on that, because then you're actually making more use of the board overall. Void also, thanks to Test floating that Mystic Shot, knows that there's a potential really cheap spell inside of Test's hand, 4 mana or less, which could be a lot of things, including Caustic Rift. But that means that they're not able to take that block there. Overwhelm is granted by Ayula.
Oh, Hex Obliterator.
Hex Obliterator is countered by Expanse's Protection, one of my favorite cards because of how many times it has saved my butt in situations exactly like this.
Look at there. There goes that Mystic Shot being we were just talking about being cashed in to pop the spell shield. We're gonna guarantee the Obliterate, and this gets rid of the equipment. We just lost the equipment. Like at this point, all we have is the Targonian Tailstones to possibly buff up this 3/3. But even then, like, is it even worth it? We really need to start drawing to some of our other units.
I wonder what you have for draw on this, because I can't imagine it's all that much.
Pantheon?
In Pantheon Stamira?
In terms of draw, we have Guiding Touch at a 3, Pale Cascade at 3. And that's it.
Grave Physician.
Ooh, Invoke. I like it. I like the Invoke. Wonder what we go for.
We're running Retired Reckoner at the top end of this too, which is very interesting.
I can see the argument for it.
For those of you who don't know what Retired Reckoner does, I don't blame you. It was buffed this patch. It's a 5-mana 3/6 with Overwhelm. Ew, gross, terrible stats. But every time you target the Retired Reckoner, which includes using Noxian Telstones to create Sharpen Resolve or Whirling Death, using the Targonian Telstones with the Blessing of Targon, Tail Cascade, etc., or even the equipment that we get from Wandering Shepherd, that card is granted +1 every single time that you target it. So it can become a really scary Overwhelm unit in the late game, which is why you're seeing it as a 1-of. It used to be a 2/6 on drop, which was terrible. It doesn't block into anything. But being a 3/6, it's slightly better Quinn stats, funny enough. For a slightly worse card overall, just because Challenger and Scout is a bit better than just flat out Overwhelm that you have to commit resources to, but it still is a threat, and it is, funny enough, significantly better than it used to be. And here's Cosmic Rays, by the way, crushing test board entirely.
I'm always nervous about taking a Celestial card that the other requirement is to also have a Celestial, and does still go through? It stops it? Wow, okay. I thought that if you played it, it would still go through regardless because it fulfilled the condition. I didn't realize that if you took away the Celestial, it would completely dissipate the spell. Wow. That's insane.
I guess
Now we maintain our board. Invoke we haven't seen in a long while. Look at that. Tess is going to go ahead and take the best of 3.
Tess navigated this matchup so well.
Yeah, definitely. And even so, continue.
Oh yeah, no, I was just thinking of like, one of the things that I find Samira, especially in the Samira Fizz flavor, really ran into problems with was removal. Now, what's a good region for countering removal? It's usually Targon directly, because you're able to run Spell Shield, you're able to run a lot of healing, you're able to run buffs to keep your units out of the way. But when you don't find that protection, and when you're playing into a hand that has 2 Hexbliterators and all the other ping spells on top of it, even though we saw Expansive Protection used at one point,
there.
The Mystic Shot into the Hexbliterator was crushing. We committed so much to that Wound of White Flame just for it to get removed once again. And those are situations where, yes, Targon does have the buffs and the abilities to keep Samira and other effective units out of the removal range, but Piltover and Zon is still proving to be a very, very powerful region as Test goes into the finals, I believe against Trustiano, right? If that was like the semi-final match? Yeah. So
wow, here we go.
Test against Trustiano, a returning victor from last
Returning victor. It's just yeah, that was last week. Trustiano was killing it.
It's all
okay.
It's all blending together. No,
it's all blending together. No,
it's all Hybrid Jace.
Yeah, Hybrid Jace is here. But yeah, as you were saying, like there are, if there was any deck that is going to try to beat the control decks, it would be the Targon variants that are able to bring in Spell Shield, right? Because once again, you know, either whether it be Hybrid Jace or maybe even sometimes the Karma variants that are playing, maybe more so like Targon set. Karma, because they have like big spells, 6 or more mana that they want to use to remove something. It's like, okay, here now I suddenly have a 2-mana spell shield, a 4-mana spell shield, and that, you know, move is completely gone, right? But as the control player, you want to make sure that you're thinking about this and you're bringing your transferring mana over to the next round that can allow you to not only engage in your removal, but also engage in something that is going to be necessary to pop a spell shield. And in that case, we saw that's what Trust did, right? We noticed that, okay, hey, as long as I remove these units, as long as I remove these engines, I'm good to go. We saw Pantheon get the first proc on like turn 5. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Like Trust was right, like kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Nothing is living. That's exactly what he needed to do in that matchup. You don't want to proc the Pantheon in any way, shape, or form. You don't want to let the Wounded Wife Flame get big, and we had the answers for it. And after that, the rest of the deck just simply crumbles. We didn't have any draws and be drawn to some other answers. We ended up drawing into double Pantheon, but double Pantheon pre-level up kind of hurts, right? You play it and it's like, sure, it's a 3-2 with barrier, but at that rate against a Piltover deck, a simple Mystic Shock would do it, especially if you ran through all of your buff engines.
Trying to look at the lists that both these players are bringing here.
I'm
we
about
have
to
a
pull it up, too.
Heimer-Jace mirror.
Ooh.
Trust is bringing Annie Caitlyn and
Okay.
Samira. Wait, no, hold on. I lost the line. And Karma Set. While Trust instead decides to give the other 2 slots to Maokai Nautilus and that darkness that we saw that was so effective earlier. My assumption for Trust is that Trust gets Maokai Nautilus banned because you don't want to be taking these slightly more control-heavy, a little bit slower setup decks in too deep. That is a given loss right out the gates. So I'm assuming Maokai Nautilus gets banned right away.
I can see
and for Trust
that makes
side,
sense.
you might ban the Karma Set because Senna Vagar can go pretty even with Heimer-Jace in the early game, depending on the units that you find. Annie Caitlyn takes a little bit too much setup for my taste for it to really run over Heimer-Jace or Senna Vagar, or at least it feels like it goes pretty even overall. The decks
I
that you
think
see
in general,
losing to broad main lists like Annie Caitlyn, for example, are things like Malphite Talia, things that really heavily rely on these big static units. But what is Heimer-Jace, aside from Jace, and Senna Vagar have? A lot of really low statted units, a lot of things that just don't really care about being disintegrated because it's like, okay, I'm a 2 health unit.
It's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not anything else. Shoot.
That's how I see some of these matchups going overall. But that's just my assumption.
I would agree. I can see the argument, right? Because if you're gonna be bringing like control, you don't want to have to deal with big statted units. Either A, big statted units, or B, rallies. Those are the 2 things you do not want to come across. And then when it's a control mirror versus a control mirror, I want to say if we have to fight Heimer-Jace into darkness, I want to give it to Heimer-Jace only because they have access to Hex Obliterator, so you can Hex Obliterate the Senna. You can Hex Obliterate the Vagar, and then suddenly a Rekindler or a Miscall doesn't really matter, right? They can't bring back their champion any longer. And given that it's 6 damage with Hex Obliterator, you don't really have to worry about, let's say, like a Husk came down, and now suddenly like, oh, okay, I don't really have to play around the HP of a Husk. The only thing I guess that would be, problematic would be the Spell Shield Husk, right? Because now you need to pop it, but you know what? Heimer-Jace, it's pretty easy to do. As long as you have either Caustic Rift, Mystic Shock, High Note, you can just boom, pop the Spell Shield, we're good to go. And if all else fails, right, if you don't really want to deal with it Spell Shield wise, well, I should say spell wise, you have Jace. Give Jace Challenger. Jace unlevel with Challenger can kill Vagar. Easy.
Yeah.
Boom. And it's the turn right after. So if you didn't bank any mana on turn 4, like let's say the first few turns you had to spend that mana, and you're only going into 5 mana on turn 5, you won't have a Vengeance to deal with the Jace, and even Jace won't be able to die to I want to say can't die to Soul Harvest. Yeah, can't really die to anything. I think you would have to preemptively consider, okay, if Jace is going to come down to 5, or if Heimerdinger is going to come out, I need to make sure that I have the mana to deal with this unit. Because if that unit even gets a single round, maybe not more so Jace, but if Heimerdinger gets a single round, that could prove problematic.
The one thing that the Senna Vagar list that we saw earlier that it has over Heimer-Jace specifically is Minimorph. So you put Jace down, and then they have the Minimorph to answer it directly, giving them a little bit more time and space to work with. Now, that then begs the question of how much of that is finding the exact right cards that you need for answers. Because I think that if we start splitting hairs and saying like, well, maybe Senna Vagar doesn't really win against Heimer Jace because of Hexbliterator, or no, it doesn't win because of Hexbliterator, or you know, Mini Morph really flips the matchup on its head. If we're considering specific cards, I think that at a base level, there are different ways that both of these decks can win the match, and it really is just a matter of who can find their answers first. Can Vagar stay on board, or will Jace challenge him out of the way before an answer can be formulated? Can Vagar get Twisted Catalyzers on board to strike more regularly before Jace finds a Mystic Shot, a double Caustic Rift, possibly even, or having the units in the ways of a Hextech handler if you really want to sacrifice something that early for it. So I think that in terms of practice, both of these decks are really can go toe to toe quite often with each other.
I would say.
Though I would like to double check the stats on that, because I could be very well eating my words here, based off of anecdotal evidence. I have not played into Darkness in a very long time.
I feel like because you haven't really seen it in a long time, because Smurf is just, I guess like you can sort of counter it with Darkness, but it's hard because like if they're able to get the Shelly even procced once, then suddenly all of these units who can normally die to, you know, Soul Harvest or your Darkness even are just going in, and if they're able to get the rally combo, like I was surprised not to really see a lot of Darkness on ladder, but even then I guess that also makes sense because the thing that was eating Samira was Karma Set and the Piltover variants, and then what was eating that was, guess what, Demacia, because Demacia can rally and attack you multiple times a turn, and you know what was eating that? Astra Blanc. And mind you, what's crazy, right, for the past 2 tournaments, Astra Blanc was the top dog, being brought by everybody. We saw one Freljord deck, and it's a Galio Udyr deck that was brought. Freljord completely
it wasn't even Galio Udyr. It was a Galio J4 with
Galio J4. There you go. Not even Galio Udyr. Oh man, but I respect the.
That was brought by our lovely resident Palita as well. For those of you who are wondering, who likes to show up in these tournaments, so we appreciate you coming out too. I looked up the stats. I'm looking at them right now. Heimer Jace against Vagar Senna. There have been 66 matches in this specific shell. Jace Heimer wins 51% of the time.
Oh, that's so slim.
Vagar Nora, 48 matches against Heimer Jace, dead even at 50%. So yeah, it's a really close matchup. Now, some of the other ones like Heimer Nora specifically, that is also Bandle City Shadow Isles, or Vagar Senna with Nora, strangely enough, it's much smaller sample size though, does have a 60% win rate over Heimer Jace. But that's not the deck that we're bringing here. That's not the flavor or the style that we're seeing brought out here. So I'm expecting to see some really close matches between those two decks. And hey, by the way, my words have been eaten. I am chewing on them now. Trustiano does get deep through the band base.
Interesting. It's always this matchup. What's crazy is that in the past setups we played at the very end, we're always ending up looking at a Karma set versus deep. It's so funny.
Yeah. I'm having deja vu.
Basically, at that rate.
Trustiano bringing it back. I'm looking. What on earth are people playing on ladder right now?
So I feel like it's probably a mix.
One of Karma Set's best matches is into Maokai Nora with a 70% win rate across around 80
talking
matches.
About that? Get out of here!
I don't.
Who's bringing that onto ladder where it's enough to showcase in the stats?
It's like a 77 matches, so it's not. You know, one person could potentially be playing that number of matches, or 2 people. So it's not really like maybe they just have a weakness for Karma Set, but they don't know how to play against it. But that is still like a funny enough sample size. The larger one though is that Karma Set into Nautilus Maokai is only a 42% win rate with over 800 matches played. This is a match that complements Deep for the many reasons that we stated before. Big units, you recall them, they come back. You play Nautilus late game, they are basically free units at the end of the game.
Mhm.
On top of Maokai obliterates your deck. You don't have answers anymore. You can't draw. These are so many things that can go terribly for Karma's set, but get a second Karma in hand, get that Maokai flip, shuffle Karmas for the rest of your life, and you are home scot-free.
I like this. We decided to go ahead and use the high note onto the Sea Scarab, setting up for a Caustic Rift. And if I'm not mistaken, I think if you use Caustic Rift here, because they all die at the same time, I think the Sea Scarab only tosses one. We're about to find out.
I believe you're correct. Let's find out. Think it's one?
Yep. Like that right there is insane. Like that was so meticulously played by Tess. Seeing that play, understanding that mechanic, was like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and prep this. Because to someone who maybe isn't familiar with the game, you're like, oh, why are they shooting this with high note if, you know, why not double it? Why not just shoot it with high note and Mystic Shot? You know, whatever questions you may have. Ooh, that pass.
Oh, that is a painful pass. Trustiano probably expecting Test to swing there. Does not end up happening. I think what Trust wanted to do was play the Shipwreck Order, but didn't want to risk losing it to set plus a Mystic Shot, and so they won't be running that risk. Early Karma is played here. This is turn 7, 3 turns before she levels. Could have been vulnerable to a Vengeance next turn, but since Test has the Deny as insurance in hand, they're not really threatened by that right now. And Trustiano losing that Sea Scarab, losing out on 6 mana. Oh man! Oh, and second Karma's in hand. That's
all we needed. That's all we needed to be able to fight Maokai.
Trust. For those of you at home who are curious as to how do I win this matchup against Nautilus Maokai, it just feels impossible. Look for a second Karma, keep 2 in hand if you have it in your opener, and just play to beat out the deep units. It's a war of attrition, and you will eventually win. Which makes me think that this is going to be going on for this match is going to be a while.
I'm not sure, like, because we are approaching Onward. And I feel like here's the thing that... Oh, we got the treasures! We have the treasures and Yield Breaker!
Way.
I was just gonna say that by playing Shipwreck Quarter, you add 2 cards to your deck, so you kind of delay deep, but in this sense, it truthfully didn't matter, because we ended up going into some more toss cards anyway.
Which of the treasures do you prevent here?
I feel like I would let them get the treasure trove only because they could get trash. But the issue with that is they could also get some really good cards. And I think it's more important to simply save your karma. Like, we absolutely need karma. That's it through. Saving to the 9, possibly for karma. What do we get? What do we get?
Blown out by treasure trove before.
Ooh, Jafir and Assessor!
We get Trifarian?
We have Trifarian. We have Grimsby on a Trifarian. We can just simply draw into our Maokai if we want to.
We play Teamaker first. Right. Then we play Trifarian.
Maokai's here.
Draw the portal. To get what is that?
Warfrat?
Warfrat? No thank you. Not on the top of my list today.
Oh man.
I realize, yeah.
And you know what's tricky is that you kind of have to play around things that would kill Karma, because next turn is the only turn you can play Karma while also having Deny back up. We can't do it this turn, or we run the risk of possibly dying to a kill card. Mind you, it could even be Aftershock.
It could be. Yeah, because Karma's 3 health now. The one time that nerf has come through. And this is a big swing. Having to lose funny enough, the Hex Acorn. Having to lose Acorn there feels really bad because we got it off of Liminal Guardian. I don't think anyone even knows the word Liminal Guardian because, wow.
You know it's because you don't see that card, because it's bad.
It's terrible. It's awful.
So play that card.
It's just
a draw even further.
Significantly worse version of the what's the thing?
Maokai. We have leveled up Maokai.
Oh wow.
Oh no, but we're short. Because now Karma's gonna be able to copy next turn.
Our hearts beat in rhythm with the bellows.
This is. Here we go. It's attrition time. Is anyone?
I think it's definitely still works to obliterate the deck because you get rid of their options. And now the only thing left is Karma, so at some point they can fill their hand up so much, like basically with junk, so to speak. Because if it creates the some really high cost cards that you simply can't play, then it's like, okay, I guess what do I do, you know? But it's gonna be exactly that. It's basically attrition. Deny, opens a Clockling, Hex Obliterator. Here comes that.
Deny here. You just want to keep things going.
Possibly.
I remember playing against a D player who was the main character of LOR. Oh, we get Deny. And
What they do, you guys?
They played Treasure Trove, right?
Uh-huh.
Again, this is still during my Jack Gutierrez phase, which, by the way, I had a 70% win rate on. I was playing well. But they got Ruination.
Oh wow.
Into, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'll just play Jack next turn. So I played Jack. They play Poro Herder. I'm like, okay, whatever. I just play Ram Stance, knock it down to 2 HP so I can swing with Brash. They play the Armored Tusk Rider as the other like 0 cost card.
Okay.
Armored Tusk Rider is a 6/5 with.
Oh, the regeneration?
No, this one is a elephant. You've never seen.
Oh,
this
the
card
elephant!
before.
Yes, the elephant.
And it deals. It cannot take damage from units that are 4 power or less. My Jack was not leveled, so I just couldn't do anything because they had Ruination into a card that could block me immediately. It was like the perfect answer to exactly what I had on board. I was just like, all right, main character. I found him.
I think the most main character moment I had on Deep with Chargers was not only did I get Sejuani's draw follower, was it Tusk Raider? Tusk the card that draws Sejuani and doubles everything. I
mine was the Armored Tusk Rider.
Tusk Rider. Okay, there's Tusk Rider and Tusk Raider.
So
yeah, I got Tusk
correct.
Raider, and guess what else? Feel the Rush, and I hit the Nexus. So I Tusk Raided and Feel the Rush, and I had like a 24/24 Nautilus.
God,
I was just like,
terrifying.
oh, well, this was nice. Now, here's the thing. Now that we have, we managed to keep both Set and Karma in our hands, so that by this state of the game, that we're able to put them back on our deck and we can survive the Maokai obliteration. Now we gotta find a way to win the game. In this sense, we're gonna be able to block and keep Karma alive. It's a little tricky because we don't necessarily want to draw per se. I don't think it's that bad given that we can always create Karmas. So I want to say that Pest is in a good spot to kind of just hold off for a hot minute.
Play Karma, shuffle Karma, play Karma, shuffle.
Look, we can give
Karma,
we don't see this card often, but we're able to give elusive to one of our units now.
I know Porter's listening. We got his iconic card.
The Camp Cloaker.
The Camo Cloaker.
It's not a list. Okay.
On this level, I'm having a really hard time reading who's winning here. I'm gonna be real with you.
I feel like it's test, but even so, like this truthfully can go either or. Maybe not truthfully either or. I feel like Deep does have the potential. But I think with the Camo Cloaker being drawn. Ooh, going for the set. Okay.
Second deny, it's not going to matter, and we might not even care about second set here anyway. No, we do care. I think there's that Facebreaker might be another set anyway.
Yeah, it is. They don't run that normally.
Right. So this is definitely looking like it's skewed more towards the Karma set side of things, and like I said earlier, it is entirely up to finding that second Karma and being able to replay it over and over and over again. I'm gonna look at test lists here for Karma Set as well, just to see if I have this list correct. And yeah, you're right. They are not running Face Breaker as a typical lineup.
Oh, get the surrender.
Surrender from Trustiano, knowing that they just don't have the late game finish over the Karma, even though you have Maokai obliterating the entire board. Second Karma in hand just means that you are shuffling that champion consistently. Having more sets in hand with Karma on board means that you're also able to shuffle set pretty much indefinitely. And with Karma's champion spell being able to give you 4 spells, because at base it gives you 1, 2 if you're an enlightened, and then if you double it when you're playing Karma, you're getting 4 spells every single turn from your region. That can be
so much.
really good answers. So that is just how that cookie crumbles.
Ooh, look at this. So with Annie Kate being played, we now know that it was Heimer Jace banned. And with the also the Heimer Jace being played, we knew it was I just lost their name. Trust. So Senna Viegar was banned. I can see it. I understand why.
Okay.
Like we saw how powerful Darkness was already being like throughout the tournament, and even so, I think Darkness does kind of beat other control options, or like it leans towards it more, given that you have access to like you normally run things like Rekindler or Mistcall. And but even then, like maybe not necessarily wanting to take the margins. And I get the ban, like letting Annie Kate through, because if you're playing a control deck like Heimer Jace, you know you can roll over that deck pretty easily.
It's true. And the main caveat of playing Annie Caitlyn, this is a deck that I've actually really enjoyed on ladder, personally. The main caveat of this deck is how you have to take time to set things up. The problem is that, yes, you have Annie and Kate and the ability to put flash bombs in the deck, and Lord Broadbane, and we're even running Captain Baron as one of at the top end of this specific list. The problem is that you still have to find ways to get those combo pieces out on board. If you don't have those combo pieces out on board, the deck doesn't really run quite so smooth. It's like missing a gear or having, to do some work around on a conveyor belt. It's not going to run all that smoothly. And if you can keep Annie Caitlyn off of being able to get their combo pieces together and keep these things on board, that is where the deck starts to slow down significantly. And Heimer Jace has the capacity to do so.
I'm gonna look up stats right now. I'm about to pull a cosplay of you. I want to know exactly what this is looking like. I see on Runeterra AR, if I'm not mistaken, Annie Kate has like a 35% win rate against Heimer Jace.
Yeah,
which is like abysmal. Yeah, even on Master Runeterra, a 30% win rate. That's only 13 matches. On Runeterra AR, I think they had 54 at a 35% win rate. Like that's rough margins.
Extremely rough. And what it comes down to is, well, all right, Annie is not allowed to live here. Eradication is just thrown out right out the gate.
I mean, yeah, it's like the only unit that you're really gonna have to worry about is Annie. I mean, aside from Broadbane, because I think Broadbane, what is it, 3/5?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Now I'm about to go.
Elite, are you familiar with the term Caster's Curse?
Caster's Curse? The one where yes, because you remember how you remember that game where we were watching. Oh my gosh. I basically said that as long as they get Spell Shield Elusive and Lifesteal, they win the game, and then they got Spell Shield, Lifesteal, Elusive on the what's that unit? Freaking, we don't see anymore because it got rotated, but it's the landmark unit that every time there you go, the Arsenal. Oh my gosh, that was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
So funny.
But continue.
Yeah, I do.
I definitely believe in the Caster's Curse. I've seen it.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I've already cursed some people tonight. Trustiano, for example. I said, oh yeah, well, Deep has a 43% or a 60% win rate against Karma set. As long as Karma set doesn't draw a second Karma, this goes to deep. You just next time I like start a sentence like that, I want you to beat my ass. I want you to like reach through the screen and strangle me and be like, shut up before you curse another one of our beautiful players.
You cursed one of my champions. How dare you? To the gallows.
So you know what? Statistics are banned. I am only going off of my half-assed observation tonight. T-Boke is being played. Pretty decent turn to be playing this unit now. Vengeance is an option for Trust to preserve 7 HP, and we might just see it played out here. But we might also want to hold Vengeance for another broad main, all depending on how we want to play things here. But the HP preservation being held out here.
I think choosing the harrowing off of the manifestation is really interesting. Because you know that your opponent's deck is a deck that wants to remove your units, so it's like, okay, go ahead and remove them. Later on, I'll just go ahead and revive them all back, and then you have to deal with it all at once.
That's true. And depending on what we've drawn or played on Trustiano's side as well, we could potentially revive Hextech Handler being another thing. Like one of those funny little interactions we can run into.
But having
Aftershock does
now
4 damage now, by the way.
Just about to say that. Now that T-Boke has come down, all of our removal options are just that much stronger, right? We don't have to spend multiple spells on Heimerdinger anymore. We can spend that Aftershock. It comes Soul Harvest. I like the Soul Harvest now. It's an elusive unit. You don't necessarily want to deal with it. You don't have another Heimer. And you don't want to risk another T-Boke coming down and then buffing it past Soul Harvest, so go ahead and get rid of it now.
I saw an image on Twitter today that was like the political alignment, but it's LOR deck alignment.
I need to see that.
I can't remember where I saw. I gotta go back and find it somewhere. But the one thing I do remember specifically was that Annie Caitlin was marked in the bottom left, and the bottom left was just simply attrition. And what this deck does, it is a war of attrition. Pirouette being used here as well to prevent the Albus of Pharaoh's swing. Both players, we're at round 10, and both players are at almost full HP. Second Lord Broadmane comes down, not enough mana to throw a Vengeance or any other response to it now. Albus Pharaoh's is off the board and swing back for 4.
Here's something about the control matchups that when you're playing control into control, I feel like it always comes down to whoever's forced to make the move first. And in this case, I feel like Trust is in the position where they kind of have to take the first move, because Annie Kate is all about, I'm just going to remove your units. And like, I know you have to play units. Like, you can't just get around me. I think that's what makes the harrowing off of the Pharaoh's Financier just so much more powerful. Because it's not just followers, it's any unit. We're about to get our Jace back. We're going to get our Albus Pharaohs back. We're going to draw into another Jace because of that. And Heimerdinger. Mind you, I don't think we'll get any turrets off because of the mana cost.
Yeah, probably not. Test throwing out the early Disintegrate into Hilto.
Ooh,
Peacemaker is big.
Progress
knows
Day.
that they're not going to get a lot of value out of this Jace anymore, so they'll be using the maximum to get the Progress Day. Eradication is found, but it doesn't hit
Anything at all anymore.
anything now. Aside from
What, Annie?
the Flash Bomb Peddler,
Oh, Flash Bomb Peddler, Annie.
Remember, we're the ones who
a
make
couple of
progress
small
happen.
things, but insignificant in the long run. Caitlyn is found too.
Not by a long shot.
It's tricky. It's a tricky
I'm going to go on a
position.
limb and say that this is not ideal for Trust, but that man, that Progress Day did draw them options. Vengeance among one of them.
Double Mystic Shot.
That too. Do not want Caitlyn striking right now. We know that we have the Vengeance with which to deal with the unit later on. We might as well prevent the damage from Caitlyn and the planting of those traps.
I'm wondering if it's better to go with Vengeance. I want to say no because you want to use Vengeance to get rid of a unit that you know for sure you can't get rid of any other way. While Caitlyn being at 3 HP, we're like, okay, you know, I can just double Mystic Shot. Although, like, there is the potential of that going to face. I'm not sure if this is the game where I'm going to be winning with going to face. Seems like I'm going to have to figure out a way to get past this control. Even then, Tess doesn't necessarily run a lot of units, right? We have Annie, Caitlyn, Flash Bomb Peddler, Broadmain. Tibok got a 2 of, so we already ran through one, so we're waiting on the other one to show up. And that's like it. We do one run. Actually, no, check this out, Kai. We're running a 1 of Evil Imperfectionist so that we can copy some cards. I know we were seeing that in some of the earlier prior rotation because you were able to copy things like Mystic Shot or Blade's Edge even. And then a Blade's Edge dealing 3 is, you know, devastating. You can go ahead and go to face with that. The whole Nox Feeder Forever. And as a finisher, we're running a 1 of Captain Baron. So right now, if we're able to get Captain Baron on board, those decimates are going to be dealing a total of 10 damage.
It's really funny, too, to be bringing a Decimate card when Decimate was rotated. Makes it just feel all that much more special, you know? Tess throwing away the Broadmain here is quite something.
Like, I think this is the point where we have 3 Mystic Shots, so we can kind of deal with the Harrowing.
We have 3 Mystic Shots, and we have 2 Pirouettes.
Actually, how much damage is that? What, that's 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 13 damage we have that can go straight to face?
How's it 13? Hold on.
Oh, am I miscounting? Because Pirouette does no, it does 1, so that's 2, so that's 4. So then 9. I think it's 12 actually. No.
I think it's just 10.
Just 10?
2... Wait.
Because
no, you're right.
3.
13. Literally 1 off of lethal.
It's 1. Look at this. But now we have to use it on the Harrowing. We don't get the opportunity to use it on the Nexus. And this is like Trust thinking so far ahead of time, looking at the when they had gotten the Pharaoh's Fantasy, saying, okay, you know what? I need to think, how am I gonna beat this deck? This kind of deck that is simply just gonna continuously remove my units. Harrowing is the answer, and it was the answer right there. A perfect grab.
Test has a lot of spells to play and needs to play them in very specific orientation here. Make sure that we're preventing as much damage as physically possible.
Everything!
All of the man.
Oh my gosh!
Only getting hit for 7 this turn, which is great for Test. But man, is that a lot of spells being used.
Great, but still scary because nonetheless, like, we know Heimer Jace to be not only like a kind of mid-range, kind of aggro, kind of like it's like almost like the jack of all trades control deck, right? Because you can, you know, theoretically curve out with, you know, playing your bots and like kind of going for that board control style, or you can simply, you know, lean into the Shadow Isles built over option where you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna kill everything. I'm not really gonna play any units, just gonna kill. And if with a Chase being drawn off of the Albus Feroz that got revived, we now can hit for Shock Blast possibly in the future.
Hitting the Hextech Handlers.
Why are they 5/5s? Why are they
Hextech Handlers were
The
played
Hextech
earlier.
Handlers were ridiculous!
Into the Harrow.
Oh, GG, a game 3!
Wow. I'm impressed.
was
Yeah,
so
like you
great.
said, planning really far ahead with that Harrowing to make sure that we were able to play it in the late game and get that wide board of a bunch of units that were previously buffed. But that also plays into the fact that Trust played 3 Hextech Handlers, which was easily going to be one of the largest units in the deck, and then you play the Harrowing, summon another one back, and then you play the Production Surge. Now, ideally for Test in that regard, you only get the Apex turret, the fearsome one there. But instead, Trust gets 3 units that are all buffed by +4/+4 because of the 4 Hextech that have been summoned to hit for 15 damage. Are you kidding me?
Oh man, and like the crazy thing is, all of those spells had the potential to go to face.
Correct.
They had the potential, but because of the heroin, we had to. We literally dumped everything. Every single spell came out just to try to keep us alive.
And it was one off of lethal too. Because
just
the
one.
3 mystic shots is 9. The 2 pirouettes is 4. That's 13. Trust was at 14 HP. There's the math finalized for all of you. We're terrible at math out here. I just know I play card, sometimes go face. Boo, I win game. Boobity boobity.
Now, what do you make of this matchup? I feel like Annie Kate is really good into like mid-range, especially things like with big units, because now it doesn't necessarily need to spend really large spells to deal with things. It can simply use Disintegrate. Or even Broadmain, because all we need to do is make sure that the units are damaged. When Broadmain comes down, a clean Caustic Rift can completely wipe the deep board. But mind you, right, if we are able to turbo deep or even turbo Maokai, we might just be more in a better position. I think it really starts to depend on the card draw. But I want to say, I mean, let's go look at the stats, because I was just having it up. Let's go look it up.
Don't do it! Don't do it! No!
Just quietly in my head.
Don't
I'm gonna
say anything out loud.
I'm gonna confirm.
What I will say
about reaction.
What I will say about Annie Caitlyn specifically is that one of its worst matchups previously, I don't know about the current patch because of the nerf to Leona, but one of its worst matchups was Samira Leona because of how it's unable. It needs time to set up for one, and for two, it's unable to deal with big statted wide boards at a certain point. Sure, you have Caustic Rift and you have Lord Broadmain, but that is reliant on you finding those 2 cards specifically. And Caustic Rift was nerfed this patch to 4 mana. Now you can't play that on curve. You can't play that very consistently. So I think that in terms of game plan, yes, you do have Disintegrate to deal with things. You're also running into the problem of at what point do I still need options like Piltover and Zon usually does, Karma Set Piltover and Zon. At what point do I need those options more consistently? At what point am I just straight up losing to the fact that I don't have a deck anymore?
Blood and guts, golden glory.
Pretty good opener for Trust so far, by the way.
Yeah, I think this is a good opener.
Removed. And the Jaw Hunters to remove the Caitlyn. I mean, yeah, you do give more Flash Bombs into the deck, but...
Like, Flash Bombs matter, and they... How would I say, like, the Flash Bombs do matter? Ooh, okay, gonna go ahead and put the Broadmain onto the Challenger. We keep Kate, we get to keep all of our units, don't have to worry about that. We are currently at 21 cards for Trust. Only a few, not too many cards away from deep, especially now that we have that blue mem. We also have the Jettison in hand. Currently, yeah, we can Jettison and go deep right now. Double Broadmain though.
Ooh.
Like, I feel like here, now we really need to start possibly drawing into our Devourers. Even ToF would be nice, right? Because for ToF, Test would really have to save this Mystic Shot for when the... I was going to say save the Mystic Shot and the Disintegrate for the Nautilus, but we're going to go ahead and cash it in on the 6-7. Does not... Yeah.
Yeah. That's tough.
This elusive is gonna draw us into more cards. Oh, Flash Bomb. Okay, on the 3-2. As long as the 6-6 is healthy, we win in 2 attack turns. Ooh, when we got draw.
Another thing is that when you're tossing so much, these Flash Bombs disappear.
Oh, they do, don't they?
Well, if your deck is small enough.
Yeah, if it's small enough.
Test has to swing for damage, but it's going to be negated quite heavily by that Deadbloom Wanderer. I think Deadbloom Wanderer is one of the best cards in Deep. It's like the undergrowth, but a unit.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised to see the Nautilus come down first rather than the Walrus. So I was hoping that we were going to see a heal onto the elusive. Regardless, it doesn't matter because we see. I'm going to go ahead and cash in on this. This would have been the only play to get rid of Nautilus. We need to make sure that with ToF you can't deal with pings. So in terms of Ping being only 1 damage, we need to make sure we're dealing more than 1 damage to be able to kill it with a broad main. We just draw into Tibok, but we no longer have any spells in hand at all. And we're about to go wide with sea monsters.
Conservatory is played, but like you said, her hand is empty. This board is massive, and it's going to be demanding answers out of Test. A lot of which are going to be answers that they don't want to give. Devour removes Broadmane, the only card left being that one of an evil imperfectionist, which is previously I was thinking, oh yeah, you can give yourself more cards when you're playing against deep. Sure, that works. But more of a curse in this current scenario because you're not able to shuffle anything back. And the last card in hand is Malcolm. Trustiano has been holding this back for as long as possible. Test knows that they can't win, that they don't have the board presence, that they don't have the cards available. Little Caitlyn level up, Pulsefire level up. Really cool animation on that one.
Wow, what a finals.
Yeah, Annie Caitlyn going all the way to the finals is really cool to see. Broadmane still showing that they have their stuff now that Samira has been nerfed slightly. And Samira Leona, its main predator, is not quite as popular, even though it is still one of the more popular decks in the meta. It's just lost a bit of its edge in that regard. So seeing Caitlyn and Annie get all the way this far was really cool, but Deep is just too good, man.
Listen,
it is just
the sea monsters make it through to finals every single time. Not being piloted by none other than Trustiano, who is now a 2-time winning Lancers Legends of Runeterra champion. Wow. And like, oh my gosh, like I feel like there were little things throughout the tournament that we were watching when it comes to players' decisions that like you really see why that they're so good at the game. It really comes down to just like little things that you're noticing, like, hey, you know, maybe killing my unit here, you know, killing this unit here, you know, in terms of fighting the Pantheon Samira, making sure that those units are always dead. Don't kill it, kill everything. Don't hesitate. You know, wow. And then being able to like play, being confident into Karma set and be like, hey, hit me with the mirror. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's see how this froze. Like that friend.
Yeah.
Oh man. Definitely a good series, definitely a good tournament. So happy for everyone to show up. I do want to see if we are able to get Trustiano for a second interview. I'm gonna go ahead.
I don't think Trustiano gave one before.
No, we got one.
Just because of their. Oh, they did.
Yeah, we got one.
Wait, was that Trust? Oh, that was Trust. Yeah, no, sorry, I was thinking of the previous winner.
To Verado.
Verado.
Yeah, wasn't able to give an interview, but I think Trust will be able to. Wow, I mean, whew. So we have Trustiano as in first place for this tournament. We have Saj King at second place. Samsans at third place. Mind you, Samsans, if I'm not mistaken, has gotten third place. Consistently been top 4 in all 3 tournaments. Like Samsans, consistent player and loves bringing in the spice to us, and then falling to avoid another very good tournament play that I've seen not only in our tournaments but in the Mystic Shot tournament, also making it to top 4.
Yep.
I like to see how this kind of tournament rolled out. A lot of control. I'm wondering how that's going to transfer over to ladder, because with the new patch, I'm sure everyone's trying to see if there's anything else that might be out there. I'm wondering if the next tournament maybe we will see more often. We'll have to wait and see next week.
Perhaps.
What kind of tournament's gonna come through?
I think the patch was a little bit too fresh for us to see that consistently. One person that I mean, Palita was bringing Nar Timo Tristana as one of those options in there, and they were running 3 of the Bandle Gunners, and also the King's Court.
I've seen that.
I've seen
that deck. It's ridiculous. No, listen. Let them cook. Let them cook.
I don't understand, but you know what? I might try that.
Trust me. Listen. Take it. Try it out. You'll see. You'll see. All right. We're waiting. Let's see. Let me go ahead. We got an interview going. That's Sam's over here talking about in general. I was like, why do you always stream the games that get cooked?
Yeah.
It's not intentional, Sam's. I swear.
You hear
And
that? Even just saying play better.
listen, even if your heart stuck third place, you third place though. You top 4 though. Don't listen.
I feel
Oh
like
man.
samsans for Lancers, I mean, it's only been 3 weeks that we've been doing this so far,
Mhm.
but samsans for Lancers has been what Lunari is to Mystic Shot Podcast.
Because Lunari was always killing it. No, Lunari
Lunari was always killing it,
Always
but we
killing
never
it.
saw them win.
Always so close, just
just
right
like,
there.
He was so close every single time. So it's just, I think every tournament series, from what I'm learning at least, happens to have that person who, you know, doesn't always make it, but is always a very consistent player. And we're
It's a
always
fact.
happy to see them out here. We're very happy for every competitor to make it out here, from Raravin all the way to samsans. You know, always happy to see you guys out here consistently. And it's been a great time watching Runeterra for the past couple of months now. I mean, past few weeks that we've
The
been
time
doing this.
flies. Like it really
sure
does
does.
fly. We've been watching Runeterra for a hot minute. We've seen all kinds of players play. I'm hoping we could get a bigger crowd. Like imagine we get a crowd of 64. I don't know what we're gonna do at then. Whoever gets stream because at that rate, that's a lot of players.
Yeah.
For those of you that are interested in playing in more tournaments, this Saturday I do believe is the Saturday Scramble. If you're more interested in maybe a Swiss style tournament, you can
That's
definitely
cash, right? Is the TO
yeah,
for
that would be cash T is the TO for that. So I believe that is. I'm actually gonna double check, make sure I have all that info correct.
And while you're looking for that
Plugging with the ping.
information, Saturday Scramble is on Saturday, organized by Cash 12 something, some iteration of
12121.
and then you have not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, we have Raravin's Noximus series that is also continuing there. And then, of course, you'll find us here every single Thursday night if you want to have some more Lancers Runeterra. So, couple of options, couple of new grassroots options. And I noticed that in the patch notes, they made it so that you can do eternal best of 3 friend challenges now.
Yes,
so
there we
might
go. They
see
finally
Mystic
have
Shot
that.
Podcast coming back onto that format specifically.
Eternal BO3. Eternal BO3.
Yeah.
Let's get some.
Eternal
Let's get
BO3s.
that. No, Eternal's gonna be mayhem. Eternal's gonna be absolute mayhem. We
Oh my
might have to
gosh,
do that
yeah.
in like a week or two. But
We'll
oh my
see.
gosh, that's definitely gonna be insane. Now we do have Trust here for an interview. Trust, can you hear me?
Yeah.
How does it feel to be a Runeterra champion twice in a row?
The two-timer, baby.
Two-timer, baby. Let's go. Not only that, two-timer with Deep again.
Yeah, first of all, shout out Tyler the Creator. I was listening the album the whole tournament. It was the only thing I could listen to win. So shout out Tyler and shout out to everyone, to all my opponents. They were all very good. Boyd, I mean Fernet was amazing. I
Definitely.
was sweating.
Definitely.
Samsan jump scared me with that Chalani. I like whoa.
No, that's the loading deck cooks. It's an insane deck.
It does.
Yeah, and my last opponent, yeah, I got no clue what the harrowing bring it. I was like, I'm just gonna pick harrowing and see what it brings, and roll the dice and let Jesus take the wheel.
Because the way that harrowing was just so flipping good, like I don't even know what to say about it. Like you're playing against a deck that like is gonna remove your units. And you're like, okay, I'll just bring them all back later on. Now you have to deal with this all at once. And we saw your opponent Natsu literally dump everything out of their hand. But luckily, you did have a production surge to follow up, which was gonna give you 3 more units along with another unit that was gonna come from Heimerdinger himself. So very, very well played, and it was a good card to choose off the Veros Financier.
Thank you. All skill.
Now talk to me. Are you normally? It seems like you're normally a control player. Would that be a correct assumption?
No. I'm a player of what's winning.
Okay. I hear you. A player of what's winning. Shoot, I can see it.
I'm a player of what's winning and what defeats what's winning. Like And I'm just a big Star Spring guy. I'm the Star Spring guy, by the way. Just saying, just saying.
Rest in peace, Starspring.
Rest in
No,
peace, Starswing. But I
my
mean, hey,
baby.
with the return of well, not the return, with the addition of the Eternal BO3s, we might be able to host an Eternal tournament where you're able to bring your own variant of Starspring with some of the new cards that came out for Targon.
Hell no, I'm gonna have to face like 100 rises.
I don't even want to. I feel like Rise is like the least scariest thing in Eternal. I feel like there has to be
Yeah.
something that's scarier.
Yeah, Rise 2.
Rise too.
Right.
So,
why
continue,
did, if I can question your lineup briefly, because Maokai, Nautilus, and Heimer Jace have been very consistent decks that we've seen in these tournaments for months now, essentially. I'm curious about your Senna Vagar mix. Why did you choose to move away from Vengeance and instead go for things like Mini Morph and having 12 2-drops in the deck? What's the thinking behind constructing a deck in that format specifically?
Yeah, Samira Varus and Pantheon decks are gonna be all around. You have to be able to answer now. They have to pre-commit protection or eat a mini morph. Like it's
Sure.
that, and there's a lot of people cooking with the new bundle CD cards with the new, so they're going extremely low to the ground. They're doing one of two things: like they're trying to rush you down, or they're going to try to go giga tall with a Varus and or a Pantheon.
So covering all your bases, essentially. That's a very viable strategy right now.
Yeah. So that's why you bring triple Shadow
Fair enough.
I mean, shoot, it works. Like against Yodo decks, Eradication is great. Darkness is just a strong deck. It's always been a strong deck. Of course, there are some decks that do better into it. But hey, you see when Veigar gets out of control, what do you do? Like Darkness is hitting for 8. Ixtali comes out, I'm getting hit. My Dex is getting hit for 8. Veigar is leveled up. Senna's here. Like as much as I love Senna, like we did see a lot of Darkness variants shift over more to Nora because they were able to fulfill the need of Darkness not having really any blockers. But with Senna, like she in herself is a powerful card. You're getting Darkness on fast speed, not only once on summon, but when she swings. That's a guaranteed 2 Darkness per turn. And if you have a leveled up Veigar, let's say Darkness, Senna, Darkness, swing, Darkness, 3 Darknesses in 1 turn. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So I want to thank you so much for joining the tournament. I see TOF has players tournament. Do y'all like kind of compete with each other?
Yeah. Shout out to my boys at TOF. Yeah, you know how we do it right there.
I see it because two TOF players are currently Legendary Terra champions. I like to see it. Y'all definitely look like to be a formidable team, and I can't wait to see you guys maybe in some big leagues, like some official Riot tournaments, or even like the Mastering Runeterra tournaments of that nature for like that $1,000 pot. Very excited to see you guys play in the future. I want to thank you, your team, and every other player that has joined in on these tournaments. It is our third one. We plan on hosting them every Thursday. And yeah, do you have any final words, Trust, before we let you go?
Yeah, just same as you. Thanks to everyone who joined, and come take my crown next week, boys.
Listen,
what
are your bro? Listen, someone's gonna have to punch you down. We're gonna see who's gonna come up to the challenge. Listen, say your piece of dip. Then no one can backtalk you back.
Well, you all heard him. Come back next week. He can't win 3 times in a row.
Listen, gotta see who's gonna cook what that could finally be Justiano. Again, thank you so much, everyone. It's been a fabulous tournament. We had no tech issues today. I'm be with you. We had no tech issues today at all. It was straight through. Well, listen, production. Mwah, thank you. Orange Flame handling the community gaming website. Mwah. Us over here casting, we're just chilling, going back and forth doing our thing. Mwah. Like Ari, kiss to everybody.
Yeah, thank you as well, Porter, for like setting up the cams and stuff for us to stream with. It's been really, really cool seeing now the tournaments finally come together. On week 3, no tech issues. I didn't disconnect at all. Your PC didn't
Did it
explode?
implode?
We're at the end of the tournament, so I'm allowed to say these things, but it's been going great.
It has been going great.
All
right, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and.
I'm very happy with how things have been going, and yeah,
Definitely,
it's been great.
I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. Thank y'all for watching. Be sure to watch the VOD if you're ever interested in seeing some good players. You maybe want to look back at some of these matches to see. Oh, I kind of like this. I like this. I like how they made this play. Analyzation can really help you learn a lot of game. Listen, Kai, it's time for you to get masters. We're both casters. We can do this. We can do this. We've seen all the pro players do their thing.
Last season, I just haven't done it.
But anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and bid you all a good night. Have a good one. See you next time.